This is the Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, where each week this brother-sister duo gets together to discuss the box office, latest film and TV scoops, our latest movie or show review, and what we're getting into next. We're your hosts,
Cheryl
and Jay.
Okay, this week we watched Conclave, and if you watched our last episode, you would know that this was our best movie we hadn't seen yet. So we were just like, why not just watch the movie we hadn't seen yet? I'm on deck for trivia. Is your mind ready? Are you ready to be quizzed? Okay. This should probably be easy. You're probably going to get this. Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci, who are the stars of Conclave, some of the stars of Conclave, previously appeared in 2 other movies together. Can you guess them both?
Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci. Oh, God, they've been in 1,000 movies.
Okay, now let me give you a little bit of a hint. They are not super serious movies. So don't think too hard.
Stanley Tucci's... all of his roles are like slightly goofy.
Okay, except this one. They are pretty old. One is pretty old, like over 20 years, and then the other one is only a couple years old. One is a part of a franchise.
Hunger Games? Was Ralph Fiennes in any of the Hunger Games?
No. Okay, one is a part of a franchise.
He's not 20 years old.
That's not, no. The one that's more recent is...
the original Avengers? Uma Thurman? Stanley Tucci in that?
No, but you in the right realm. Think of
1,000 years ago?
No, think of like ensemble cast, fighting, action.
Was Ralph Fiennes in any of the Kingsmans?
Oh,
he was in the... Wait, was Stanley Tucci Hitler?
Oh, hold on one second. The Kingsman from
Great Circle
2021 was one of the
Kingsman. That
was one of them, and Ralph Fiennes was Orlando.
He was the main character.
Oxford, and Stanley Tucci was Belvedere in the Kingsman prequel, The Kingsman.
Yeah, so he is in this.
So he is.
Aaron Taylor Johnson's also in that movie.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
In The Kingsman.
You know, for that movie not to be that old, it's kind of like, it feels like it's been out it came out like a really long time ago.
It kind of came out and everybody kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah, and I guess it was probably like COVID times. Okay, so that's one. It took a long time to get to that answer.
Okay.
What is the other one? This is the older one, and it was a romantic, it was a rom-com. I'll call it a rom-com.
Ralph Fiennes was in a rom-com?
He was.
I definitely don't know it then.
Jenny from the Block was also in this rom-com.
Oh, God. Not Made in Manhattan.
Bingo, that is actually it.
Wait, which one was with Patrick Dempsey?
Oh, the Patrick Dempsey?
Wait, no. Not Patrick Dempsey. Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. No, that's not the right one either.
No, wait. No, I know Made in Manhattan
is
the one with Ralph Fiennes. Which one was the one with Matthew McConaughey? I get them confused.
Or was it
Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey?
What's the one I like? No, that's Monster-in-Law. So that's not the right one either.
Oh, God, we're down a rabbit hole.
Jennifer Lopez.
The Wedding Planner.
Was the Wedding Planner with
That was
Matthew
Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey. She was the wedding planner. And
I thought it was a different actor.
She was planning his wedding, and she stole the husband. And Made in Manhattan, I think, she was the maid.
You know what? Recently, some award show or something happened where Ralph Fiennes and Jennifer Lopez like reunited, and the picture just looks funny because it's like there is a very large age gap here.
Yeah.
How did this work for Made in Manhattan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a different time.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It looked kind of weird. But yes, you actually got both answers right. The Kingsman and Made in Manhattan are the 2 movies that they had previously been in. And now 3, because Conclave.
Yeah. So, okay, cool.
All right, that is it for our Struggle Bus trivia, because we was like, IMDb might got this wrong, but they was right. Now let's get on into our episode.
Welcome, fellow movie buffs. I'm Jay.
I'm Cheryl.
Listen in as we break down movie and TV shows, tell you what's in the plot, and hear if we think you should have watched it when you had the chance.
Dun, dun, dun. So this week we had a touch more news, kind of scraping the archives for this. But anywho, we have news about a movie we've already talked about and some video game related news. We got one car in the trailer park, pretty deserted, but it's winter, so don't nobody really go to the drive-in. And then just a couple bites of BUNCHA-CRUNCH. So let's start off at the top. 28 years later, part 1. Now, what's interesting about this is they're not calling them parts. They're just calling them 28 years later, 28 years, the Bone Temple.
Yeah, I think they're all just going to have taglines.
Okay.
Because they didn't, up until now, they were days, weeks. So
right. Now we're years. Yeah. Essentially. But some plot details got revealed for 28 years later. It's going to follow a community on Holt. Now, you have seen this, right? You have seen all the movies previously?
Yes.
Okay, so it's following a community on Holy Island, which is a section of land only connected to the UK when a tide recedes each day. Now, is this Holy Island?
This is new.
Okay, that's why I was
like. This is 28 years later at this point. Got you.
Okay, so our people are going to be stuck on the island that they can only cross when the tide recedes each day. Continuing on, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is taking his son on a rite of passage to show what's happened to the UK. Cillian Murphy is apparently not in this first part.
No, but there are eerie images of Jimmy.
We've already seen some
painted
set
along
photos.
The walls.
Oh, okay.
Saying Jimmy is coming. And we don't know what that means, but Cillian Murphy is the only character in these movies named Jim.
Okay, and we've seen
who's been missing since the first
set photos of him. I guess so. Those must be from the first, or they lying to us. Either way.
They said Cillian Murphy isn't in this at all. So,
we'll see.
And they said the zombie guy that everybody says was Cillian Murphy isn't
not Cillian Murphy.
So,
and then something else we learned that this is there's going to be a third part. So this is actually a trilogy and not just 2 movies, which I was not aware of until this news came out.
Yeah.
So the guy who's directing the first one, Danny Boyle, is also going to direct the third one, and Nia DaCosta's directing one in the middle. Everybody was kind of confused a little bit by these details because they're like, so only the UK is impacted?
Yeah, when they added the details to the story, it kind of bummed me out.
A little bit, because it don't seem as serious, right?
It seems very unserious.
It's kind of like, why don't I just move?
This now seems like the most unserious zombie apocalypse because apparently this whole outbreak
is only contained,
and they're not zombies. It's whatever this in this rage virus.
Right. Plague.
It only affects the UK. It has not spread to the other countries. The rest of the world, they say, is virtually unaffected.
Now, somebody mentioned that I guess at the end of one, it made it seem like Paris was infected. Is that not?
They made it seem like that.
Or maybe they retconned it.
But yeah. You would have, because what they do is the movies are all contained in the UK.
Right, you mentioned that before.
They communicate. The movie starts off where Cillian Murphy wakes up in the hospital.
Okay.
And he's
got the hospital gown on. Is that what that scene?
He was in a coma during the outbreak.
Gotcha.
So he woke up after.
That sucks.
And while everybody was gone and dead, and he was just wandering the streets in his hospital gown trying to figure out what happened until he ran into Naomi Harris. But they already established that the UK was cut off from the rest of the world in the first one.
Kind of like Quiet Place Day 1.
Right.
Okay.
So, and they never make contact or communicate with the outside world.
Quiet Place Day 1.
Well, no, not really, because we got to see that.
Okay.
We didn't get to see it in 28 days later.
Okay.
So, but they established that they couldn't contact the outside world because of what it was like in the UK. So, and then the stinger about Paris, they kind of leave it up. You would have assumed that it would have
spread. Matriculated out.
Yeah, like all viruses do.
So
that's super unrealistic because COVID has taught us that viruses spread like wildfire.
The internet was a buzzing because we was all confused. They're like, well, how is it only contained in one spot? Yeah, it's that's strange, and I'm curious. We were talking about this previously, so I was like, so is the whole trilogy just gonna be in UK? But I'm thinking you were like, no, the second one probably
it's a weird
pushes
choice
the story forward. I don't know,
because we've had so many zombie viruses in the real world, so we know how viruses spread. So the fact that this did not spread, and it's just by blood.
Okay.
So the fact that this didn't reach anywhere outside the UK is very interesting. Yeah. We also get the detail that I guess Aaron Taylor Johnson's character would be taking his son on a rite of passage through the countryside.
I don't know if rite of passage is the right word to use.
Well, that leads me to believe that this is a cult. They are a cult themselves. And somebody else mentioned this online, which was a good theory, because it's called the Holy Island. I don't think they're trapped there. I think they're there by choice. I think they choose to remain in the UK by choice.
As like we have to be here to rid the world of.
Yeah, because attaching holy to it is interesting. And
the other part is called Bone Temple.
It doesn't make sense why, if the virus is only in the UK, why did
People
they stay
in there?
Also, a piece of lore that we got in the last film.
Can't leave or something.
Well, they have to answer some questions, because the piece of lore we got in the last film was that they don't eat. When you're infected, the infected don't eat.
Right, they die. Somebody said they died.
They were dying of starvation in the second one.
Okay.
So, I mean,
how are they still alive?
How are they still here?
28 years later.
I guess evolution will answer that, but
I
wish I didn't know these details. Honestly, wish I didn't. It kind of sounds not
good. Everybody was kind of like, what's going on here? So the first part of this trilogy is going to be coming out June 20th. So it's going to be a summer movie. And like we already talked about, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, and Ralph Fiennes, speaking of which, will be in that one. Will be our leads in that one. So I
hope Cillian Murphy isn't a bad guy when he comes back.
Okay.
We haven't seen him or Naomi Harris since the first one.
Right. I bet you Ralph Fiennes is a religious nut.
Probably because he looks like it.
He does.
But we haven't seen either one of them since they got rescued. No word on Naomi Harris coming back.
I think they might just be keeping that under wraps.
The Jimmy is coming stuff is weird.
Maybe he's like a figure now.
That's weird because he would have had to have a huge turn. Well, I mean, you can in 30 years,
right?
He would have had a huge turn in 30 years.
Everybody was a little confused.
Naomi Harris was the
same
muscle.
Okay,
in that movie, it wasn't him. So
interesting.
She was the killer.
Everybody was kind of like, let's chew on this.
Yeah.
I don't know if we like the taste.
I think the synopsis, and I did some searching around to get people's thoughts about it, and I think the synopsis
threw people off a little bit.
Yeah. Just the detail about the fact that it hadn't spread outside the UK. I think in a post-COVID world, that
it don't make no sense.
Super unrealistic.
And how in 28 years?
Like, that's so unrealistic. This might as well have superheroes.
Scott Craven,
a virus of any kind. Stayed in one country.
Craven, Voldemort.
Yeah. So right, exactly. So
looking a little strange. So yeah, as I'm assuming another we'll get probably at least one or two more trailers for this as it leads into the summer. But we let you guys know if you are interested in this. You've seen these. Tell us your thoughts. Did the reveal of the details kind of go for you? Or are you like, okay, I'm here, I'm interested?
Yeah.
Let us know. Video game related news. So did an event happen? Did something, because I feel like all this came out at once, or somebody was just rapid fire and releasing news.
Maybe Sony has states of play like every 6 weeks.
Okay. So first thing we got is Ghost of
Tsushima.
Yep. Is anime is in the works. This is at Crunchyroll and it's going to be released in 2027. Now this is a very popular video game, and I'm actually surprised that this is the first time they were like, oh, let's make this a show, because I mean, it seems like you would just have the people that play the game be like, yes, I would absolutely watch a show about this.
So, Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
This is new. So, this is an addition, I think, to the Chad Stahelski live-action film that's still supposed to be made. The makers of John Wick are supposed to be making a live-action Ghost of Tsushima.
You know, they're doing that now with, like, live-action doing its own thing and then the anime doing another thing.
Yeah. So, and that makes sense because Crunchyroll is just a streaming app.
Right.
So, there's no reason. Ghost of Tsushima is one of the most successful PlayStation games.
That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised they haven't tackled this before.
It is one of my favorite games of all time.
I've watched it.
I bought the director's cut, played the game so much.
Because you barely found it because it was like sold out.
Barely found it. Well, no, this is I have owned 2 copies of the director's cut of Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
The first copy I played all the way up to the last chapter.
Okay. Now why did you not finish?
Scratched the disc.
Oh, how you do that?
It's a combination of things.
Okay.
One, I scratched the disc and I tried to back up my cloud save and it overwrote the save to an old file. So I didn't have the disc and I didn't have my completion. So I had to restart from scratch.
You weren't supposed to finish.
So I bought another copy of the director's cut because
scratches.
it is so good.
Yeah, okay.
It is super good. I think you should play it. You will really love it. It's so fun. Yeah. I think
and there's another one coming out.
Yeah, the Ghost of Yote is supposed to take place a couple hundred years after the end of this one.
Right. And the protagonist is a female this time.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I remember that. So that'll probably be a hit amongst the fandom. Now I don't know these other two games.
Oh, for people who don't know what Ghost of Tsushima is, you play a samurai on an island in Japan who is trying to fight off the Mongol invasion.
It looks good for somebody who's never played it.
Because the Mongols introduce a different type of savagery to Japanese culture, you as the hero have to change from being a samurai into being a ninja. You have to introduce ninja concepts to your island.
I don't mind that.
It's super fun. It's basically the gameplay and the storytelling is kind of like the Hogwarts Legacy, I guess, where you play one character. You have reoccurring side characters who have side plots, but there's a main plot that advances.
That still goes on.
It's an open world with a whole bunch of points that you can go to.
That sounds just like Hogwarts.
The main story is linear, but the side stories and how you choose to do them, if you choose to do them at all, it's full of loot.
Give me that loot.
Loot is literally all over the place.
Give me that loot.
So yeah, it's super fun. Yeah, it's super fun.
Okay. So next up we have Helldivers and Horizon Zero Dawn are getting live action films. I said this 45 episodes ago. I said video game adaptations is about to be the thing.
They are, yeah.
I don't know if they're going to take over comic book movies. They're going to be pretty close. It's going to be pretty close. I feel like
so far the only one that's done that I guess is Mario, because Sonic didn't.
Yes. So it's maybe by the fourth movie they'll hit Mario numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So far Mario's leading the charge.
By a large gap.
Yeah.
Gap is pretty huge. But that is not going to stop these companies from trying to take other video games and adapt them. And they're probably going to shoot more for rated R, because we don't have a lot of rated R adaptations yet.
No. Just Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, right. And 2, which is coming out sometime.
They finished filming it 5 years ago and refused to talk about it. So,
where is it? Where is it?
I don't know.
We ain't got no
WB's
teaser.
Weird.
No, nothing. So both of these live actions for these two games are coming from Sony. Tell us more about Helldivers and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Helldivers is Starship Troopers.
Okay.
It's a carbon copy of Starship Troopers. They could not make a Starship Troopers game because of copyright infringement. So they made Helldivers, and
so it's like Nosferatu.
Slapped it, basically. Yeah, it's essentially Nosferatu.
Okay.
Yeah. So Helldivers is essentially a multiplayer online version of Starship Troopers.
Okay.
And I mean that it's a direct copy. It's goofy. The characters
they even got the weird tone of it.
They have the tone of the propaganda, and you're doing this for the Republic.
Starship Troopers is one
It's
interesting
goofy.
movie.
It has weird emotes and stuff.
Okay.
It has friendly fire. But the whole point of the game is you and three other friends, I think, play online, and you defend your planet or wherever the object of the game mode you're playing is from bug creatures.
It's freaking Starship Troopers.
And the bugs look like the bugs from Starship Troopers.
That's funny.
I'm surprised. The little pincers and everything.
Yeah, I'm surprised they got away with that.
They changed the name. And they do not acknowledge Starship Troopers at all. Okay. But it is Starship Troopers.
I know it when I say, if one movie I'll never forget is Starship Troopers, because it's so weird.
It's fun. It became super popular because I think Helldivers is free to play.
It's taking over the airwaves.
Yeah, Helldivers is, that's the new thing, free to play. And you pay with the in-game cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that probably works. It probably works if the studio got the money to develop it free of charge.
It works when the game is good.
Right.
I think Marvel Rivals is doing pretty well. It hasn't betrayed its fan base yet. Helldivers has also done it well. People don't mind free games that you pay to play when they are good games.
Right. Okay.
But most of the games that have been coming out have also been bad and unfinished. That's the new thing.
And you got to pay for those.
Yeah. And I think Helldivers came out finished. So.
Okay. This always was. So what is Horizon Zero Dawn?
I don't know. That's not a parallel of anything.
Oh, okay.
But essentially, Horizon Zero Dawn is a video game where the AI has taken over the world, caused the apocalypse, and sent all the human race back into the Stone Ages. There are no more animals. All of the animals have been replaced by robots.
Oh.
So it's humans who are...
And robots.
This is in the very, 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 very far future, but the Stone Age again.
Okay.
Humans are living in caves again.
Everything is a cycle, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
And all of the animals are robots.
No animals.
And being controlled by some type of evil AI entity. You play this main character girl.
Controlled by Meta.
Yeah. You play this main character girl who's like a futuristic Stone Age version of Lara Croft.
Okay.
Who runs around defeating the enemies, hacking into them, and controlling them.
That sounds like an interesting movie, though.
You have to. The main goal is to defeat Skynet.
Of course, right?
Yeah. Go to the source and blow up the supercomputer.
I actually think I'd be interested in that.
You would like both Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Zero Dawn as games because they're like third-person adventure games with
little Final Fantasy.
Completely shower you with loot.
I like loot
and things. Yeah.
You give me the loot and something I can spawn that's like huge. I'm like, yes.
You can scale the combat to your own comfortability in them.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
So,
That's me.
This is also one of Sony's most popular and profitable games of all time as well.
That also makes sense. Sony needs some because they need to lead us Spider-Man stuff along.
Sony does good with
little bit.
Sony does good with video game storytelling. Helldivers, Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted.
I like Uncharted.
Yeah, and that made a pretty good movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we'll see what comes out of these video game adaptations, y'all. Buckle in because it's coming. So be ready. So that's it for our news. Now let's
roll into the trailer park.
Toot. Beat.
First trailer we have, the only trailer we have, is for A Working Man, which is coming out on March 28th, 2025. It is going to star Jason Statham, David Harbour, and Michael Pena. Yeah.
It's don't forget to say who's directed by.
So this is going to be directed by David Ayer, a very successful director known for works such as Beekeeper, which was the last Jason Statham movie.
That actually did pretty good at the box office. I ain't gonna hate on it.
Suicide Squad. Not the Suicide Squad.
The one before that.
Original Recipe Suicide Squad.
OG Suicide Squad.
And End of Watch. So I like that. This was very strategic. This is a compliment sandwich of filmography you created here because you stuck the worst one in the middle of two good ones. So End of Watch was a good movie.
Yes, I remember End of Watch. And Beekeeper actually did pretty good. I think it was like a good action flick.
Like the fact that he did End of Watch and Suicide Squad is a crime.
It's weird, ain't it?
It's terrible.
Well, that's just like The Godfather and Megalopolis. I mean, from the same person. Two different movies. Very different quality and style.
Well, I mean, he also has Francis Ford Coppola has a lot of other hits though. David Ayer doesn't.
I was just picking two that were on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Sylvester Stallone wrote the screenplay for this, so
you can tell.
High expectations.
Nah.
And the plot is Taken, basically.
Yes.
Mixed with Man on Fire, but it's based on a 2014 novel called Levon's Trade.
So basically, this movie is Taken. And it has the part where a daughter gets kidnapped. And then it's got the part of Man on Fire because Jason Statham's character is a working man who works for Michael Pena's family. So Michael Pena is probably the guilty one, like in Man on Fire.
Yes.
And then Jason Statham's going after the daughter, like in Taken.
So is Michael Pena the father?
Yes.
So he had his daughter kidnapped for some monetary or criminal purposes.
There's even a wife, right? So there's Michael Pena. There's a lady who plays his wife. So they ask Jason Statham, can you go please find our daughter? She was kidnapped. It's literally Man on Fire and Taken.
Yeah.
Because this ain't really a plot twist. Big part of the plot is the daughter is taken in a human trafficking ring. That's Taken.
Because didn't Anthony, what's his name? Jennifer Lopez's ex-husband.
Anthony.
A lot of parallels in this episode.
Mark Anthony. Yes.
Mark Anthony.
Yes, he was.
Wasn't he the one that orchestrated Dakota Fanning?
Correct. Is that? Did we not just describe?
Yeah.
It's literally the same movie. So it is. It's not Beekeeper. It's kind of like Beekeeper too because Jason Statham's playing like some retired whoever, and now he's working a regular job instead of keeping bees. Now he's doing construction.
After you can assume that after avenging Felicia Rasad's suicide, he went to work for Michael Pena. Essentially, he's the same person in everything he is.
They might as well have just made it like a a lore, right? Like he just moves from job to job.
Yeah, they should have just made all of these. Like,
it.
if in a perfect world, like if we had a time machine, I'm sure Jason Statham would go back in time and just start the first like Jason Statham universe, because all of his roles are essentially the same.
Right.
And the movies kind of follow each other back to back. You can kind of just assume that his character just quit that odd job and went to the next one.
And found more trouble.
And it works. He has a strong fan base.
He does.
Somebody was online talking about Jason Statham is playing the same role over and over again. I'll absolutely be seated. And so they work.
Listen, the movies get decent reviews. They make decent money at the box office. I mean, the plot is super not complicated. David Harbour plays a blind arms guy.
Yeah.
So it's
These
just
movies
like
cost $10 to make.
And they probably like quadruple the budget. So
here's the thing.
I guess.
At least this is going to theaters.
True.
This should be a sign to, this is the second sign to Netflix that they really dropped the ball by not putting Extraction in theaters.
They might as well, because you know what? This is a sidebar. Red One, the movie that bombed at the theaters, did like 1 billion minutes, according to Nelson, once it got on streaming.
Yeah.
But more people probably knew about this movie because it went to the theaters first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Y'all love Red One, which, you know, hey, we heard it was good. I'm not watching it, but I believe y'all. So yeah,
it's just weird that
they need to put these movies in theaters first because it's working for Beekeeper.
I know this is supposed to be about a working man, but Extraction is better.
It is better
than both Beekeeper and what this movie looks like, and it deserves to be a theater.
And Extraction's at least, I mean,
the action in Extraction looks better than the action most Jason Statham movies.
The funny thing about this trailer is they've clearly turned down the background noise and turned up the sound effects, because all you hear is
it's not gonna work.
And I was just like, I know this don't sound like this in real life, y'all. Like, quit messing with the sound. It looks like a very easy popcorn flick. If you've seen Beekeeper, you know what you're getting. Yeah. If you know the plot of Taking a Man on Fire, you know how this movie gonna end.
So this is Beekeeper. This is essentially Give Me Another, just like the other.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. But you know what? Good for Jason Statham for getting work. Yeah. I actually don't think he's been in anything else since Beekeeper. I don't think. Probably filming this.
No, the last thing we saw was the Meg 2.
Oh, right. He does the Meg. He literally could play the same character in all these movies.
You could have just assumed that he
took a break, went to go do the Meg thing.
Whatever he does in the Meg now.
Right.
The Meg 2 shouldn't have been made, but
I know it was not a good movie.
Yeah,
but
Meg 1 was good.
The character definitely could be in all this stuff.
Because he was like a freelance diver or something.
He's freelance everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he's freelance everywhere he goes.
Jason,
so it's just part of the Jason Statham universe.
Just go back and retcon all your movies and just be like, this is the same character. And just call yourself Jason Statham.
Just like
every movie.
Just like Clint Eastwood had that set of like 25 years of film that was released on iTunes. Did you see that?
Oh yes,
Clint Eastwood had like his best films released as a bundle on iTunes for like $4. Mm-hmm. Jason Statham could do the same thing.
He sure could. Yeah, he sure could. Yeah. It's funny to me because some actors find their lane. And they just be like, I don't care what y'all say. I'm staying in it.
What's his name? Who was the original Jason Statham?
Jason.
Steven Seagal.
Oh, boom.
Before everybody hated him, he was successful. He had a string of films that were all the exact same. Yeah.
Literal same. I mean, I feel like back in the day, like that's what kind of movies were.
Chuck Norris.
You had an actor who excelled at one particular role, and he was that same actor.
Just did a roundhouse kick in every single thing he
role,
was in.
And you just changed the scenery, and you just changed the actors, and it'd be the same movie.
It works.
So this is coming out March 28th, 2025. I think it's sandwiched between Snow White and something else. But it'll probably do fine.
He's also still alive in the Fast verse, so he might show back up before that's all over and done too. Which, I mean, he could also have been taking a break from stealing cars.
He could, but I think he British or something in those, right?
He's
or not.
British.
It don't
Even
matter.
when he's American, he's British.
It don't matter. it could literally be the same, and he should just go by his name. I'm Jason. That's my name. Yeah. So I didn't check out Beekeeper. So
we saw the Meg.
Checking this
out.
We
saw both Megs, but we were there for the shark.
Exactly.
Anybody could have been fighting the shark.
If I want to see Taken, I watch Taken, and if I want to watch Man on Fire, I'm gonna watch Man on Fire.
Yeah,
and there's already a Man on Fire series coming out, so I'll just watch that.
I like Jason Statham when he shows up in good stuff. I don't need to see like his independent films. I do like him.
Independent
I do like him as an actor in stuff.
Correct. I enjoy him as a supporting cast, but his solos,
because he's a good actor. The writing is cheesy.
That's Sylvester Stallone.
All the writing is cheesy, but he's good.
Go, Jason.
Yeah.
Right. So that's all we have for the trailer park. Now we about to roll into our bunch crunch.
Hopefully Sylvester Stallone doesn't let this slip through his fingers like he did Creed.
Now, depending on how well this do, they'll probably try to build an act. No,
it's not gonna do as well as Creed. He
well, I was gonna say they were trying. Maybe they were trying to do sequels because Taken got Taken 1, 2, 3.
I don't know. Jason Statham doesn't do that many sequels, which is strange because all his films are very similar. So there's
Hobbs
no need.
and Shaw, I guess, technically count.
The Transporter sequels and the Megs, but in his filmography, he doesn't have a lot of follow ups.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, interesting indeed.
Yeah.
Back into the bunch crunch.
Let's dive into this bunch crunch. First scoop of crunch we have is Rory McCann is going to be replacing Ray Stevenson as Baylan Skoll in Ahsoka season 2.
Bittersweet.
Sure.
I don't know who he was, so I had to Google
He's the
him.
Hound in Game of Thrones.
I had that in the notes because I was like, who is that? But recently, he was Tegula in Gladiator 2. Don't ask me who Tegula was. He was in it, though. Exactly. He's probably the big guy who was probably Denzel Washington's sidekick, if I had to guess. I bet you that was him. You looking at it. He's Googling. I'm trying to, I bet you that was him, if I had to bet any money.
I don't know. I can't see a picture of him. It says he was in it, but nobody has a...
Or he was just one of the gladiators that got killed on sight.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But I figured if he was big in Game of Thrones, he might have had a bigger role.
I didn't. Well, if he was in Game of Thrones, he was one of the main characters. He did not die until the very last episode.
Oh,
so
good
shout
for
out to him. It's very rare for
Okay.
Game of Thrones cast members to survive into the series finale.
Nice.
I liked him in there.
Okay.
I think he'll be fine for this role.
Yeah, Ray
Stevenson was really good.
Right, and he passed away, and that's why he is getting his character's getting recast. But he's not gonna be able to live up. But it's okay. That's okay. They might not be trying to totally replace him. They just it's cool that we'll be seeing the character though. That lets us know that the character is gonna be.
Yeah, there are gonna be a lot of different plots in Ahsoka season 2 because Baylan Skoll is on his own journey trying to find what true power is. I guess.
Right.
Ahsoka and old girl are stuck. Oh boy is back.
I couldn't believe that got stuck at the end. I was like, y'all gonna leave us like this?
So they're stuck in another galaxy far, far away. That's not on anybody's
map.
map.
No way to get back.
Yeah. Well, Star Whales, I guess.
Maybe.
And I guess they can travel through time.
I don't know, man.
Kind of.
I don't know. And we got Force Ghosts.
Anakin is supposed to be more present. And Thrawn. And this is all supposed to lead into some type of film.
Right.
So that leads into the Mandalorian and Grogu. So.
Right.
And there are gonna be a lot of plots in season 2.
I liked Ahsoka as the more Ahsoka went along, as episodes went on, I liked it more. And that season finale just left me like, oh no, y'all didn't do this to us. So I'm very excited for season 2.
I liked Ahsoka a lot. A lot of people complained that Rosario Dawson's portrayal of Ahsoka wasn't the same as the the animated,
right?
Because in the animated version, she was a lot more lively.
Okay,
but she was a child. So those critics, I would say, are you as animated as you were when you were a child?
She's a grown woman. Okay, she got the lightsaber.
Yeah, she's an adult, and all Jedis grow up and become boring. That's par for
they
the
become
course.
Very stoic, right?
Yeah,
about the rules and whatnot.
Ewan McGregor grows up and becomes boring. New Hope Obi-Wan,
right? You're not wrong.
Yeah.
People always got something to complain about, especially with Disney fans.
Excited for Ahsoka season 2. I'll definitely be there.
Yes.
I like all Star Wars.
So shout out to him. I'm excited that the character, they didn't totally write out the character.
Yeah, I was worried they were gonna get rid of that plot line because I kind of want to know what the true power is.
Exactly. The way his character ended, we were all like you said, it's a bunch of plot lines. We were all like, excuse me, what's next? So yeah, looking forward to that.
All right, next scoop of crunch is more revivals. We have SHREK 5 and Ice Age 6 will be coming out on the same day.
Now, Christmas. They're both going to be Christmas movies.
Yeah, in December 2026.
Did you know that there was 5 Ice Age movies? We probably already had this discussion.
Yes, I did.
Now, you know what they, after like 2, you know what they need to do? They need to do the Marvel thing where it's just like titles and not numbers. Because after a while, just look ridiculous.
They make money, apparently. They're all the way up to 6.
SHREK 5, you need to call it SHREK something else.
And this is DreamWorks.
Yes.
Yes. Did Disney buy DreamWorks?
No.
Or is DreamWorks still its own
I think
free
DreamWorks
thing?
is its own. I don't think DreamWorks is SHREK. I don't know who Ice Age is.
I think they're both DreamWorks.
No, they can't release their same movie at the same time on the same day.
Somebody said that Ice Age is.
Let me see.
It's on Disney Plus.
20th Century
Blue
Studios.
Sky Studio. Fox. It was Fox.
So Disney.
Yeah.
It's
so
Disney
it is
now.
owned by Disney.
20th Century Studios.
Yeah.
So Disney.
So what we know about this is that Disney is going to secure the premium screens, and SHREK is going to have an uphill battle to fight.
So we're going to have Mufasa versus Sonic again.
But I don't think it'll be that bad because SHREK has a following.
I think they both have. I think SHREK has a bigger following, to be honest.
SHREK has a more adult following.
I would see SHREK 5 over Ice Age 6 because I literally have missed 4 movies, clearly.
I would absolutely see SHREK.
And I'm not catching up.
SHREK is more adult.
Yes.
And the jokes are more
and
adult.
Donkey's supposed to be back.
And Donkey's back.
So we SHREK 5ing. We claiming it a year early.
Interested to see what the screen availability is going to look like. It, like you said, it's going to be a Mufasa and Sonic thing. Except those didn't come out at the same time. But
Yeah, they did.
Did they come out on the same day?
Exact same day.
They did?
Mm-hmm. And you know what happened? Sonic got none of the premium screens.
It didn't.
Or he got like one every now and then.
Yeah.
And Disney still hold them.
People were really upset about this Mufasa Sonic thing because they were like, well, they were basically like, Disney can't keep getting away with it with securing premium screens.
That's in the contract.
Everybody's allowed to do that.
It's in the
every studio has the ability to pay off movie theaters to give them
off.
This. I mean, it
You'll
is.
write it in the papers
It
and you dot the line and say, hey, when our movie come out, we get IMAX for 2 weeks
for compensation. So it is.
The movie theaters be like, sure.
Every studio has the ability to pay off movie theaters or secure premium screens.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Well,
Disney just has the most money. So
Christopher Nolan does that with IMAX screens.
Yeah,
Don't nobody be complaining.
Well, the thing is, Christopher Nolan.
Tom Cruise complains, but that's different.
Christopher Nolan don't have the money to secure those screens, but what he does is say, "I will use y'all cameras if you give me your screen."
Let me tell you something. IMAX is making up technology,
which is
just
working
for
smarter, not harder.
Just for Christopher Nolan, IMAX like, all right, y'all, we got to make something up. We got to make something up.
Doesn't he also have something coming out against Disney?
The Odyssey and Spider-Man are like a week and a half, or like back to back. I don't
know why people keep doing this.
Spider-Man's moving. If Spider-Man does not move, that would be the most interesting thing on Earth.
I don't know why Spider-Man would move versus the Odyssey.
I don't know.
I mean, because Christopher Nolan movies up until Oppenheimer, I mean, he still hasn't had $1 billion film.
It was close.
His films usually make up to like 700 million.
Yeah, but he's like, he's highly regarded. Like Interstellar's re-release got like another $1 million.
No Way Home made like $1 billion this opening weekend.
They're
not moving. They're not moving the next Spider-Man.
I feel like they're gonna move it to Christmas.
Especially
they can't because now we have Ice Age and SHREK 5, so they're not moving it to Christmas.
It depends on what the next Spider-Man is about.
Interesting. It'll be interesting.
People love Spider-Man.
It'll be interesting. I think Spider-Man will make the most money. The decision is who getting them premium screens.
Now he'll be the only one that actually married the Mary Jane. So
in real life.
Right. So
happily. Spider-Man finally to be happy in real life, y'all.
They finally found a Peter and Mary that worked.
Now in the movies he probably gonna be downtrodden and lonely.
Yeah.
But at least in real life we know that they made it.
So moving away from Christopher Nolan versus Disney.
Right.
SHREK 5 and Ice Age 6 will be coming out. If you are going to see either one of these or planning or seeing both, let us know.
Let us know what the heck happened to Ice Age 2 through 4. How about that?
I don't even know that. Queen Latifah shows up at some point.
Oh, no, she?
Yeah, I think she shows up as the last surviving female woolly mammoth.
How?
And her and Ray Romano get married.
I had no idea.
I think that might be like the third or fourth one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip Ice Age 6, but SHREK 5, I'm looking forward to. All right, that's it for our news this episode. We're going to take a short break and jump into our review for Conclave. This week, we watched our best movie we hadn't seen yet, which was Conclave. This is not old, but it's already been out for a little while. It came out October 25th, 2024. It was directed by Edward Berger. If he sounds familiar to you or does not sound familiar to you, he was the director of All Quiet on the Western Front, which was a big international movie a few years ago, and it won him the Oscar for Best International Feature Film at the Academy Awards.
That's most war films.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I have not seen All Quiet on the Western Front, but hey, apparently it was very good.
You've seen one war film, they're all kind of. Saving Private Ryan, you covered the next
Dunkirk,
couple generations of war films.
Yeah, not a fan. But if the Oscar said he deserved it, so be it. Cast and characters of Conclave include Ralph Fiennes plays Thomas. So all of the cardinals in this movie have the name Cardinal in the middle, like it's a middle name. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. It's too repetitive. Okay. And I'm also not Catholic, so that's fine. Ralph Fiennes plays Thomas Lawrence. Stanley Tucci plays Aldo Bellini. Oh, let me actually back up. So Ralph Fiennes plays Thomas Lawrence, who's a British liberal. Some of this is kind of important context.
Yeah, because they're all from different places.
Yes, exactly. So he's a British liberal. Although I don't feel like he sounded British in this.
I mean, he has an accent.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He does. I'm like, he didn't sound like
Voldemort?
No. Who's my British Master Chef?
Gordon Ramsay.
Like Gordon Ramsay.
Okay.
Sorry. Stanley Tucci plays Aldo Bellini, who's an American liberal. Mm-hmm. We have John Lithgow, who plays Joseph Tremblay, who's Canadian moderate. Yes. He's a moderate. Interesting. Okay, fine. Sergio Castellitto. I think I'm saying that correct. Mm-hmm. He's an Italian traditionalist. Yep. Okay. Isabella Rossellini, she is a sister, so she plays Sister Agnes. She is the Cardinals' head. She is a caterer and a housekeeper in this movie.
Yeah, she's head nun.
Basically. Mm-hmm. And then we have Lucian Massamati. Hopefully I'm saying that right. He plays Joshua Adimi, and he is a Nigerian candidate with conservative social views. Mm-hmm. Important to him. He could what?
I was saying you could interpret what that means.
Right. Exactly. I was going to go into it. I was like.
Yeah, you know what that means.
Right. Nigerian conservative views. Just go with that. And then we have Carlos Diaz. I'm probably butchering everybody's last name. He plays Vincent Benitez. Yes. That should be very easy for me to say. He is a little known Mexican archbishop who was working in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. So that is the context of all of our Cardinals and Sister Agnes in this movie. Going back to our facts about this, it's 2 hours solid. Yes. Not very long. I don't think it felt like 2 hours to me, in my opinion.
The beginning was a little slow.
Okay, you felt like the beginning was slow. Okay.
But it didn't feel like 2 full hours.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Budget was $28 million, so cheap. Yeah. In terms of Hollywood, current box office is $48.8 million. Now, this movie was premiered at Telluride, so one of the film festivals, in September. It didn't come out officially till October, and it's kind of been a slow roll. And now it's on streaming, so you can watch this right now. I think on Peacock.
It's also on physical.
Oh, it's also on physical.
I was at the store the other day. I was like, this is already.
Oh, is it already on Blu-ray? So this had a limited release. So this wasn't ever expected to do like $100 million domestic, $400 million. It's not doing Sonic Mufasa numbers. No. It's not even doing Nosferatu numbers, but it wasn't supposed to. But the budget was modest. It's already double its budget. Actually, it's going to be probably 2.5 when it's all said and done. So that's good. I forgot to look up its cinema score. 1 second, please. B+, which I would say is probably good for this, considering the ending and considering the subject matter. So I guess we didn't even say that. If you know what a conclave is, it's basically when the Pope dies and they have to vote for a new Pope. Yes. They go through a process called a conclave, and that's the name of this movie. A B+, I feel like, any religious movie, unless it's like Passion of the Christ, it's typically not getting no A cinema score because people and their feelings about certain things about the movie. Rotten Tomatoes, 93 for critics and an 86 for audience.
What did Civil War get?
So, if I had to guess, probably like a B-, just because.
I feel like it had to be somewhere in the B range.
Yep,
B-.
I'm not surprised because that was very contentious, like
Yeah, it had
subject matter.
issues.
Right,
Yeah.
not religious, but it was war, so
Right.
it was kind of like, and there was no like clear side in Civil War.
True.
And I guess in this movie there was no clear.
I only asked because I think they're both up for awards. So
Okay.
Yeah, so
Gotcha. And Civil War was A24. I know.
yes.
Okay.
So both small, I guess.
Yeah, small rollouts and whatnot. So some fun facts about Conclave that I picked up because we are in award season. Peter Strahan won a award, Golden Globe for best adapted. Just best screenplay. So this is already a Golden Globe winning movie. It is nominated for 11 Critics' Choice Awards. 11, like literally, it's like best picture, best screenplay, best director, best actor, best supporting actor, best cinematography, best score. It's literally 11. I counted twice. It's 11. 8 satellite awards and 2 SAG awards so far. Oscar nominations have not come out yet, and I'm sure it's gonna pick up probably like 7.
Yeah, it's probably like a front runner. Or
7 of
something.
those, right?
That and that Bob Dylan movie, or Bob Hope movie. Which one is it?
It's Dylan.
Bob Dylan. Who's Bob Hope?
It was a president nominee.
Bob Hope.
Or religious?
American comedian and actor.
Oh, right. I'm thinking of Bob Dole.
From The Tonight Show. That's why I'm thinking.
Getting our Bobs mixed
there
up.
You go.
So, yes, Conclave is definitely an awards contender. Ralph Fiennes was also nominated for a Golden Globe, but he did not win. But I'm going to guess he deserved it. We'll get into our review. All right. Do you want to give us the plots of Conclave? You know, I might have kind of already gave it.
Sure. So the plot of Conclave is that the Holy Father has perished. And it
Going up to yonder.
And it is up to Ralph Fiennes, who is the deacon of the church.
He's not. He's a dean.
Dean. Sorry.
Yes.
Why do they call him deacon?
Do they?
Do they call him deacon or dean?
Listen, Catholic, Christian, you know it. Same. Not the same thing, but
so
you
he
know.
is the dean. Who do they keep calling deacon?
I don't think they use the word deacon. Did they? They might have.
I don't know.
I don't know Catholic terms.
Ralph Fiennes.
Yes.
The Holy Father has perished.
Yes.
Ralph Fiennes is the dean of Cardinals, but he was also a close friend of the Holy Father.
Correct.
And he has been tasked with picking the new pope. But unfortunately, he finds out that the Holy Father was on the trail of a conspiracy involving the other cardinals before he passed.
And not just one.
And Ralph Fiennes has to finish what that mystery was before the new pope is elected.
So it's kind of a whodunit, but somebody is dead, but murder is not the case, I guess.
Yeah, and Ralph Fiennes, I guess, isn't responsible for picking the pope. He's just the showrunner.
Yes, he's running the process of the conclave. So he's doing all like the behind the scenes logistics, and then he like gives like the opening ceremony speech, whatever they officially call it.
So he's trying to solve this conspiracy before voting has finished.
Right, because he wants to weed out people that should not be pope.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. All right. Good summary. So let's get into our non-spoiler thoughts first for Conclave. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So let me actually pull up the notes that I had before I mentioned that. Acting was great. Everybody in this movie is great. Yeah. All the people we named off the roster. Excellent job. I had no nitpicks, no notes about everybody's role in this. There was Stanley Tucci's character. It didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go with his, and I was like, oh, this is like everybody in the movie. Some people have bigger roles than others, but everybody's roles played like perfectly.
Yeah,
I would say the score was great. So I think this is nominated for a Critics' Choice Awards for the score. Music in this stands out very much. Yeah. There's like a lot of high pitched moments, and then I had my subtitles on, so there's some of it would be like extra dramatic music playing, and you can like hear it, or it'd be like sinister music playing. Yeah, and you could tell that they playing for that. Cinematography also great. They replicated the Sistine Chapel, so they didn't let them actually film in there, of course. So all of the structures and the church and stuff that they are in, all of that looks really good. Some of the shots that they had, also good. I would say go into this and don't look up any details. Just watch it. Don't it's also based on a book. So if you read the book, you already know.
Oh, cool.
But and they said that the movie followed the book pretty closely. Like they changed minor details, but as far as the plot, they kept that the same. So, but I would suggest if you don't know anything about it, don't look it up, because in my opinion, you will never see this plot twist coming. There's a plot twist.
Yes.
You would never see it coming. And don't spoil yourself. So just watch it on a whim. And I would say perfect runtime. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. And at the end of the movie, I wasn't like, oh, I wish they would have added this or that for me. So I thought the runtime was actually, the editing, it's also nominated for award for best editing. I thought that was pretty perfect. Yeah. That sums it up for me for non-spoiler thoughts.
You pretty much echoed most of my non-spoiler thoughts. The only thing I'll add is if this was a Netflix series, it'd be called House of Crosses.
Okay.
Because it definitely gave original season 1 when it was really, 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 really good.
Such a good show.
Before the real conspiracy.
Yeah.
Writing, acting, ambiance, setting, music. It was very much House of Cards.
Had a good cinematography too.
Yeah, it was basically House of Cards, but based in the Catholic Church.
Yeah. And I guess we just shortened it up because it's a movie.
And you're dealing with religious politics instead of actual governing politics.
Right. Both bad.
But the tone, it matched. It was similar. So if you are a fan of like House of Cards, where you follow a main character who's trying to uncover a conspiracy, there's a mystery, and everybody's got baggage, and everybody's got dirt, and everybody's a little sketchy, but you don't know who to trust really. It's that vibe, which I really, really enjoyed, which I kind of picked on almost immediately.
Okay.
It picks up kind of the same.
It starts off pretty, like once we get past, a certain point of the movie, maybe like 10 minutes in, it start rolling. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is what we doing? Okay. All right. Got it.
Like you said, I really like the acting. Shout out to the costume.
Oh, yes.
Design. Costuming was really, really good in this. Also set design. I didn't really have much thought of where they shot it, but if they replicated that, that's good because that's good practical effects.
It looked really good.
A lot of the shots reminded me of some horror films. I'm not sure if that was deliberate.
Was it the long hallway?
A lot of
where they would shoot from the back of their head.
Multiple.
I was like,
multiple shots. I was like, is this intentional? It reminded me of like I'll save it for my random notes. Okay. But I thought it deliberately paid homage to like horror films that based in the Catholic Church. It did the exact same shots of other horror films that are based on the Catholic Church or religion. And I thought that was very intentional.
Okay. Yeah. Some of the long shots when they were in the hallway of wherever they were sleeping. Yeah. Like I was like, is somebody
I'll say this. Well, I'll say one.
Okay.
Just for the sake of my point. So the hallway scene reminded me of the hotel overlook.
Oh, yeah.
And The Shining.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, and that wasn't about the Catholic Church, but there were other films about religion that it kind of like mimicked certain shots or scenes from. It's like, oh, just interesting. But yeah, the hallway was given The Shining hotel overlook a little bit. Yeah.
Dark and dim.
The red hallway. I was waiting for like the wave of blood to pop out from one of the rooms
on the
side.
Those scenes would be so quiet.
Yeah.
Because they weren't like, hanging out and partying in the hallway. It was just like, is something coming out of some door or something?
Like somebody could make a YouTube edit of some of the shots of this and add like horror suspense music or something, or like a jump scare, and it would fit.
Right.
Yeah. The acting was really good. I really liked Ralph Fiennes. I can't remember the last time I saw him as like just a lead.
Does 007 count? Oh, his own film. Yeah.
No. I mean, he usually pops up nowadays. We mostly see him in like supporting roles in like bigger films. I mean, I guess he'll kind of be supporting in the new 28 Days Later.
Another fun fact. There is another version of the Odyssey that recently came out where Ralph Fiennes plays Odysseus.
Oh, cool.
And he's like ripped up, ready to fight
I might
Odysseus.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's called The Return.
Oh, okay. So I really liked Ralph Fiennes' acting in this.
Perfection.
Like, he was really good.
He's moving up on my list.
Yeah. So
for like actors I love.
He basically plays a character who's a member of the church, but he kind of has his own like doubts.
Yeah.
And he played that character really well because he kind of felt like a member of the church who really didn't want to be there.
One of my notes says he is already over it.
He was so ready to go the whole film.
He was telling people too, like, I'm actually.
But he was really good at like keeping up the professional face and appearance in public. And then when he would get into his room and then like break down and cry, it was really good.
He just looks so downtrodden.
They don't really do any touching really on his relationship with the previous pope, but they do a bunch of emotional scenes with him sitting by himself. You kind of get the gist. They were really, really good friends,
right?
And that, I think that's extremely good acting because it's show don't tell. And
exactly.
literally no telling. There's no dialogue in those scenes when he's like by himself.
There are a lot of scenes where it's just like we just, seeing how it's playing out versus
like when he's in his room and he's touching like his memorabilia and all you see is him looking at it. But you can tell he's like thinking about something or like hits him super hard emotionally. His character has to have a lot of patience with a lot of people at the Conclave. So it seems like whenever he gets back to his room, he's like,
he can decompress.
I can let out this cry.
Right. And he even has some scenes like when he's sitting off by himself during the daytime, and it's like all the cardinals or stuff are, smoking. Yeah. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Yik yakking or whatever. He's literally just sitting by himself on the bench. Like,
it's kind of like if you're on your lunch break and you
don't want to talk to your coworkers.
Sit outside of the building, you're thinking like, do I really want to stay?
The answer is no.
That was his mood, though.
The answer was like, I actually don't want to be here.
But those are all my non-spoiler thoughts.
All right. So we are going to get into our spoiler thoughts where we'll break down each character. And if you don't want to be spoiled, you can stop now and come back later. In 3, in 2, and 1. All right. So at the top of our list, we just talked about him a little bit, is Thomas Lawrence, who is played by Ralph Fiennes. So he is the dean of the Cardinals. It's basically his task to run Conclave. Now, the interesting thing about his character is that he wanted to quit.
Yeah.
Before the Pope died, he went to him like, yo, man, I can't do this. He said he was wavering in his faith, in his prayers. He was just like,
he didn't really elaborate on what occurred.
Yeah, there didn't seem to be maybe one thing, and if it was, the movie doesn't tell us, but he was ready to go.
Yeah.
And the Pope actually told him no.
That was their last conversation.
And he said, you can't resign. And Ralph Fiennes was like, I hate it here.
Yeah, basically.
He was like, I actually don't want to be here.
Right.
He does have a revelation later in the movie where he's like, I think I now understand why he wouldn't let me resign, because he wanted me. He knew that he was dying and he wanted me to run this conclave. But that revelation don't hit till like maybe middle of the film.
Yeah.
But through all of it, Ralph Fiennes is clearly ready to go. He even tells somebody like, after this is over, I'm leaving here.
Yeah, like I'm
out.
This was his last thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So as far as Thomas is concerned, though, I actually thought for a minute that he was gonna be like the bad guy. I was like, no.
Ralph Fiennes?
Yeah, because all of the Cardinals in here is scheming, y'all. I mean, they scheming and willing and dealing. Ralph Fiennes is actually a good person in this, and he stays good throughout the whole movie, and I like that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it might have been stereotypical, or not stereotypical, obvious, or, just an obvious plot device that, of course, the good guy eventually turns bad. But he didn't.
Right.
And I like that. And I like that Thomas, even though he did not want to be there, he still played his role, and he still did a good job at it.
Yeah. He stood apart from the other Cardinals because, other than being the main character, he was not canvassing to be the Pope. Because if you don't know how a conclave work, it's sequestered.
Yep.
And they do a vote, and they continue to vote over and over again until somebody has a majority. If they don't have a majority, they have to continue to stay for additional days and vote.
And from what I looked up, they can vote up to 4 times, but they vote at least 2 times a day. Yeah. And if in those 2 times, or 2 to 4 times, nobody wins, it's curtains. Yeah. And they got to come back the next day.
Yeah. So he wasn't canvassing. He did not want to be the Pope. Mm-hmm. So I thought the twist was going to be that he did want it. And they kind of touch on that a little bit.
Just a little bit.
With his conversation with Stanley Tucci at some point in the film.
Yeah.
But Stanley Tucci was incorrect. Ralph Fiennes did not.
He actually didn't. He was just like, not out. Like, I ain't y'all.
And it comes to a point in the film where it's looking like it might be him just because he seems to be the best in the candidates.
Right.
It's one of those situations where I have to take a job because if I let somebody else do it, the world will end.
Yes. Which, yeah.
I guess when you become Pope, you pick a new name to go by. Mm-hmm. And he picks a name, but he still doesn't seem like he wants it.
He doesn't.
I did enjoy the fact that he was very straightforward. Right. There was no twist with his character. He did not want to be there. Mm-hmm. He was doing this as a favor to a friend who had just passed.
Right.
And after
he actually couldn't leave.
This is probably going to be his last time seeing all of these people. He was probably ecstatic about that.
He was like, y'all, he looks like it. Like Ralph Fiennes portrays in his face that
he wears his thoughts on his face.
I just don't want it, y'all. I don't want it. I don't want to be here. Y'all are a hot mess. I actually wanted to leave a long time ago, and I'm only doing this because it's my job.
Right.
But I'm out of here after this is done.
Yeah.
And so Thomas was, And like you said, I like that they kept him straight.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't in no type of conspiracy or nothing. He was just an honest, good person who was ready to go, but just did this last final act because it was his duty to do so.
Right.
So I liked him.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk about Aldo Cardinal Bellini,
who is played by Stanley Tucci,
Yes.
who actually also didn't want it. But it was a situation of where everybody else was trash. So they wanted to pick the one guy, I guess the not even majority. There was a subset of people, including Thomas, who wanted Bellini to win because they just didn't want anybody else to do it.
Yeah.
But
so
deep down, he didn't want it either.
So Bellini was already fighting an uphill battle because he's an American liberal.
Correct.
So American was one strike, liberal was the second strike.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, he was the most level-headed out of the candidates who who were canvassing.
Right.
So they were trying to rally behind him in secret.
Right.
To canvass for him.
Exactly.
I liked Stanley Tucci's character in the beginning.
I did up until a certain point, and it's probably the same point.
My feelings on Stanley Tucci switched probably in the second act of the film, after actually pretty much after the first round of voting. Is when I switched up on Stanley Tucci.
Mine was a little bit later.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So Stanley Tucci, I switched up on Stanley Tucci because essentially they're having a meeting about who they think should be the next pope. They all want to throw their votes behind Bellini.
Right.
And Bellini's kind of like, well, if you're going to canvass for me, please be honest about who I am. These are my views. And he has liberal views, but he wants to bring his liberal views into the church. And I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. Yeah. I flipped on Stanley Tucci after the first round of voting.
When he got like 2 votes.
Yeah. Well,
it was more than 2. But
I guess his main issue was the fact that Lawrence got more votes than he did.
Yeah. So the voting process is all secret. So they basically write names on the ballot, say a little prayer, put it in the bucket, and then they count the votes. But, unless somebody looking at your paper, nobody knows who voted for who.
Right.
Now, Lawrence, like Jay said, was not in the running, but people could still vote for him if they wanted to.
Yeah, because I guess he's a neutral party. I think he has a good reputation in the college.
Right. So people were voting for him, and he got more votes than Bellini, who's supposed to be in the running.
Right. I didn't like the fact that Stanley Tucci so gullibly thought that because people liked Thomas and wanted to vote for him, that meant that Thomas actually was vying for the spot. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
That was a good scene, but I agree with you.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
It was so instant, too.
When you know that anybody can vote for anybody, and you know
that
he's likable, anybody could have wrote his name on the ballot.
Right.
His main concern should have been the fact that nobody was voting for you.
Right.
But he made it Ralph Fiennes' issue.
Yeah, it was like, the way the movie set up, you think that they are friends.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, well, why are you coming at your friend like this?
His turn was so sharp. And it just didn't make sense that he thought, I don't know how he extrapolated that Ralph Fiennes really, really wanted the position because some randos that he doesn't even know voted for him.
Right. And Bellini wasn't the only cardinal that thought that. I was like, now why y'all coming at Lawrence, who's just trying to do his job and get up out of here?
I think that I think that what that revealed to me is that Bellini really did want it.
I thought he did too.
Yeah.
Because later in the movie, this is where I turned against Bellini, was when another one of the jank cardinals who was in a run and was like, well, if you rally me to win, I will give you a position. And I was like, now, Thomas basically finds out because he's like, you acting kind of weird. Why are you suddenly rallying behind this cardinal? And he was like, oh, wait. He offered you a position, didn't you? Bellini didn't even say nothing, but you could tell, once again, by his facial expressions, show don't tell.
Yeah.
That he did. I was like, no, why would you do that, Bellini?
Yeah. So Bellini,
he didn't deserve it.
Yeah, Bellini started out good. I really liked Stanley Tucci's portrayal of the character.
The acting was good.
The acting was really good, but I really did not like that character turn. It didn't make any sense.
I did think he actually wanted it to.
I think I think that's why it didn't make any sense why he was upset with Lawrence. It didn't make sense that he was upset with Lawrence, but when you think about the fact that you really wanted it, and it was just the fact that you went in thinking it was yours,
right?
And he wasn't even an upset. His name was in the running as an extra opposition, and you flipped out.
Listen, because in the movie, the person who wins needs to get 71 votes, and I think Bellini on the first try got like 9.
Yeah,
or less. It was not.
He got like, you know what? He got 17.
It was a very low number.
Yeah,
and Lawrence got like 5.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, Lawrence got a few, but at this point, like every vote counts situation, right? Because you got to win the majority. So Lawrence was like, I'm sorry. I don't know who's voting, who these 5 people are. And Bellini just flipped out on him.
Yeah.
And it was like, relax.
Yeah.
You don't even want
that
this
was
job.
him showing the slip that he actually did want it.
He sure did.
He wasn't really behind what he was talking about.
Right. Okay.
All right. Let's talk about John Lithgow's performance as Cardinal Tremblay.
So Tremblay is our moderate from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very much showman. He's like a showman, and like he's like, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm going to be the next pope. And I think before the conclave started, he mentioned something like, oh, I've heard the rumors. And Lawrence is like, what rumors? He's like, that I'm going to be the next pope. And he's like, who tells you that? Like, what are you talking about? So he was very much egotistical. He's very much a moderate because he's like not one side or the other. He's like playing both sides of the fence situation. But John Lithgow plays him perfectly.
John Lithgow is the same in everything he's in.
Yeah, well, you're right.
That is why I enjoy. He's one of those actors that I'm perfectly fine with you being the same person.
Yeah.
And it's not like a Jason Statham thing.
Right.
Like John Lithgow, and this is not a shot at Jason Statham. John Lithgow be acting.
Yeah.
So
he played a good job of playing
really
somebody who was on both sides of the fence.
I knew from the beginning that John Lithgow was sketchy because the very first time Thomas went to question him about his last meeting with the previous pope, he did G. Willikers. And that doesn't work
so showmanship
when you have an accusation of that level.
Right.
So basically, the previous assistant of the pope goes to Cardinal Lawrence and tells him that John Lithgow Tremblay had a meeting with the Pope. He was the last person
to see the Pope alive.
And in that meeting, this was Janice that gave him this information.
Yep.
In that meeting, he fired him.
Right.
Didn't give a specific reason as to why he fired him.
Yep.
The Pope did not share that information to his assistant. Didn't. Tremblay claims that he doesn't.
He claimed it was a lie.
Claimed that was fabricated. But when Lawrence went to him and fed him the rumor and the accusation, he did G. Willikers, that can't be true thing. And that doesn't fly when the accusation is that you have been fired. You can't G. Willikers, good golly me.
Right. And Lawrence is trying to flesh this out because he's like, somebody who got fired can't be Pope.
Yeah.
Like, so what is going on here? And of course, Tremblay's like, No. That person's been drinking. He's got a drinking problem. He made this up.
Yeah. The way he responded to the accusation was like
extra.
If somebody said you forgot to like lock the door before you left the house or take the meat out the fridge or something. And it's like, oh, innocent mistake. Not you've been canned and you shouldn't be here.
His personality was over the top, and from the very beginning, you like, no, he shouldn't be Pope either.
Yeah, we watched this separately. You watched this a day before I did. And it was at the 24-minute mark, and I texted you. I said, I'm at the 24-minute mark. Don't tell me. But John Lithgow is amazing at playing a bad liar because I could tell you're a bad liar.
And as this movie goes on and we're learning about each of the people who are in the running to be Pope, we're assessing their character, right? So we got Bellini who doesn't want it, but he's got a good head on his shoulder. He's got good views. Then we get introduced to Tremblay, who's obviously up to something.
Sketchy, but we don't exactly know what it is.
Right. So you're like, okay, he don't need to. And as you're going through the movie, you're like, okay, hope he don't make it. Hope he don't make it. Hope he makes it. What's going on? So yes, Tremblay was on my, oh God, please don't let him win list at this point.
So essentially, Tremblay was orchestrating a plan to take out one of the other cardinals by using using something from his past. We'll talk about that when we get to the actual cardinal.
Before, and I won't spoil it yet, but people think that he was actually telling the truth. People think that
Tremblay was telling the truth about what?
People think that he didn't set it up. He was actually doing what was required of him. So later, and when we'll get to that part, but later in the movie, Tremblay's like, no, I didn't do that. I was doing what I was asked. People actually think that he was doing what he's asked, and the OG Pope is the one who like told him to do it because he know it would all fall apart.
Yeah. So basically, I'm cool with that. If he was telling the truth, then actually the previous Pope was the one who orchestrated it because one, we know that the previous Pope was studying a conspiracy. He was on the trail of one anyway.
Exactly.
And he could have been setting all this up to make sure nobody,
no
even
raggedy
after his
people.
death, right?
None of the raggedy cardinals
people
made
was made Pope.
Right.
But that does not absolve Tremblay, because the other thing that he was doing awful was he was basically
buying votes.
Yeah. Essentially from the other cardinals.
With cash money, y'all.
With cash from their bank accounts where they were being paid from being cardinals.
Yeah. So it was just like, even if you even if you were like, I actually don't know, I'm telling the truth. The other truth was he was bribing cardinals.
And that goes back to your point about disliking Bellini, because he was accused of simony, which is the act of selling church offices and roles for sacred things.
Yep.
And Bellini fell into it.
Exactly.
Because Bellini rallied behind Tremblay when he found out that he wasn't going to be winning. Right. And the reason he did is because Tremblay offered him a role. Yeah. And it's like, you're just as bad as the rest of these people here.
He bribed him with a role versus with money.
Yeah.
And at this point, I don't know what part we are in the movie, but as the movie goes on, the vote numbers start changing. So Tremblay starts getting more votes. And obviously Bellini at this point ain't getting nothing. Yeah. But people start rallying to get Tremblay because, obviously they paid for the votes. And it's getting real kind of dire. Like, well, we know Bellini not going to make it because obviously nobody's voting for him. And
it helps with the pacing because in between each round of voting, somebody's conspiracy unravels. And then the next chapter begins when the next voting starts. And then we know where everybody stands.
Right. Because, and we're kind of jumping at part of the story, but when Lawrence finds out about Tremblay's bribing, he actually, at first Tremblay's like, I don't know what you're talking about. This conversation never happened. Right. And Lawrence was like, but it did happen. He's just like, whatever, walk. And Lawrence actually sets him up with copies of the receipts to give everybody that's there. So then the vote pattern changes again.
And the reason that it wasn't just as simple, I found out that you did something illegal and against the church and you've been disqualified. There was friction because the only reason Thomas discovered it is because he broke the sacred seals of the previous pope and he went into his room and looked through his things, and the pope had left those documents
in a headboard.
I think the Pope did that on purpose. I think the Pope knew
that Lawrence was going to break into his room.
Going to break the seals and going, because they were very close friends.
It's the only way he was going to get in.
And Lawrence found it pretty quickly.
He did. He was behind his headboard. He was having a moment to himself, and he was like overcome with grief or whatnot.
He was in the perfect place, perfect time, in the perfect position to find his secret stash.
He was looking at the old Pope's artifacts and whatnot, and then he turns, and then he's like, goes behind the headboard, and he's like, is this receipts? What is this paper?
Because we find out the previous Pope was old. Yeah. They indicate that he was losing his mind, but I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. But he was working.
They were trying to, the other cardinals was trying to play it like, the previous Pope was old, senile. He didn't know what he was doing, but
he was working. He was doing the digging. He was finding out the truth. That's what it was.
As he was dying.
Yeah.
Because he clearly knew he was on his way out.
Okay, let's talk about Tedesco.
So Tedesco is he was our Italian, what did they describe him as? Traditionalist. Yeah. So he is very much like, we need to go back to the olden time.
He is very much,
we don't need to speak no other language but Latin.
We need to return to the Dark Ages where everybody spoke one language.
He don't like Christians, Muslims, or nobody. Okay, black people. Nah, he's just like, no, I don't want no parts of it. So he obviously, once he gets introduced, I'm like, nope, don't want you either. Like, I'm just checking everybody off the list. The acting of him was very good, but he was kind of, he wasn't really playing it behind the scenes. He was playing it in front of the scenes. Yeah. But he was basically benefiting, though, from Bellini being out of the race. When Tremblay gets revealed that he was bribing people, now Tremblay's out of the race. So Tedesco was basically just benefiting from all the other House of Cards falling. And it was like, no, y'all, he can't win either. We need to do something.
And he was using, and you can look at previous elections. He was using the standard fear-mongering talking points. Everybody who doesn't look like me or sound like me is the enemy. Yep. And it's the church's job to fight that.
Right. And he was getting votes.
And we'll also add that while this conclave is going on, there are several terrorist attacks that are happening outside in the city.
Right. And Lawrence is trying to keep them from the people in the conclave from finding out, because you're supposed to be sequestered because you're not supposed to be influenced by anything.
And they're going to, and we get to the point at the end of the film when there is a bombing outside of the church.
Why they voting? Mid-vote, y'all.
Yeah, there's a bombing, and Tedesco takes the opportunity to stand up on top of that soapbox and use that to further canvass and campaign to the
it was
rest
just
of the Cardinals.
and apparently the bomb was in the trailer, but I never saw it. So some people knew that the bomb, of course you don't know the context, but when it went off in the movie, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Kind of like the bomb in Joker. I was like, what is happening right now?
I thought it was more of like an analogy for something, like when the first first explosion we don't see. We get two explosions. One is a tremor.
Right.
I was like, okay, is this
I thought
like
it was an earthquake. Yep.
So but it happened right when they were voting. So I'm like, is this some like sign from God, or something?
I mean, you could take the
but then right after they're like, no, 55 people are dead outside.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was. I'm glad I didn't see the bomb going off in the trailer, explosion in the trailer, because I would have been waiting for it. But so when it went off, I was like, is this like, because it happens right as Ralph Fiennes about to do another vote. And I was like, so is this a sign he's supposed to be Pope? Or a sign
I was like, is this like
he's not supposed to be Pope?
Right.
Which one is it?
It had a very coincidental, it went off at a very coincidental time.
It did. So Tedesco is benefiting from all these little weird situations with the popes and the bombs and whatnot happening.
But everybody is kind of in agreement that he would be the worst version of the Pope.
Yes.
All of our main characters. He's still racking up a bunch of votes
from everybody else.
The rest of the cardinal constituents seem to like him.
Right.
But, I mean, we see how that works in the real world, so.
Exactly. So but once again, once he was introduced, I was like, dang, so I don't want him either. Who is we gonna pick?
I liked his character as a foil.
Yeah.
He was pretty much the only in-your-face bad guy we had from the very beginning.
Yeah. Because we still don't know if Tremblay's telling we know he's bribing people, but we actually don't know that till later in the film. We don't know if he's telling the truth about being fired or not.
Yeah. We know that Tedesco is bad because he says bad things constantly. Everything he says is awful.
He even looks at the African cardinal and the camera pans over and they're like, oh, you talking about black people.
Yeah, he didn't. He doesn't want anybody. Well, I mean, he had valid reasons. It didn't need to be Adeyemi. It could have been any other black person.
You're right.
But he didn't want a black person anyway. He only wanted, I guess,
an Italian.
Just Italian. And his only reasoning was that, his main reasoning was that because an Italian hasn't been the Pope in 40 years.
And they were in Rome, right? He was like, Rome is the foundation of all, the Catholic Church and all this. Italian is supposed to be Pope.
He had an entitlement to the religion, to the Catholicism. He felt like it was his.
But the actor played him very, very well.
Isabella Rossellini plays Sister Agnes.
Now, her role wasn't super big, but it was significant.
It was, because she was essential to solving the Tremblay mystery. And I guess the Adeyemi mystery.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And at first she's very she is anti Lawrence. She don't want to, but she's very close to the Pope. So Lawrence is the one who tells her I actually wanted to leave, but for some reason the Pope wouldn't let me go. And now I think I know why, because he wanted me to do this and he knew he was going to die. And then she softens up to him a little bit and helps his cause, because he's asking his assistant and her to get him information because he's technically sequestered. So he can't be on the Googles and whatnot and on the phone. So he's asking them to hey, could you, at one point in the movie, she searches something and just leaves the room. And I was like, why is she not going to say nothing? And he was like, oh, I'm supposed to look at her computer. Yeah. Scoop, 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 scoop. So I liked her character, though.
The first couple scenes we get of her is no talking. She doesn't talk
have
for
dialogue. A while.
We just get scenes of just her by herself or listening or looking around at things.
Or, you can tell that she's telling the other sisters what to do or whatever.
Right.
But
and we pretty much, and I like that because it was more show don't tell. Yeah. We pretty much get from her that she's been around for a while. Yeah. She knows all of these cardinals. She knows they're all trash. But unfortunately, because women don't have a lot of involvement in the Curia, right, she can't do anything but just sit and enjoy the game. Right. And it seems like she enjoyed watching or being witness to their back and forth. She did. Because she just knew
it was all a hot mess.
Like Benitez says at the end, it's just a bunch of petty men arguing over something petty.
Right. And she does have a scene where she does so when Lawrence basically outs Tremblay's bribe, she actually advocates for him, and then she does a little curtsy and then goes on her way. That's all I had to say.
And I think that was her last scene.
Yeah, we don't see her for the rest of the movie.
Again for the rest of the movie.
But she's not a huge role, but very effective and very much of course the woman are the backbone of the conclave and sort of keeping people fed
Yeah.
and clothed and healthy.
And it makes sense because they don't talk a lot. They don't get to speak a lot.
No.
But she does. I like that she does. This isn't my favorite line or scene, but she has a line. She says, "I know that women are supposed to be seen and not heard in the Curia, but God has still blessed us with eyes and ears." Yeah. And it made so much sense that she would know the most because all the rest of the Cardinals do is talk.
Literally. And just be like, ego, they're boosting their egos or trying to whisper in the shadow. Exactly.
All they do is talk about themselves, and she doesn't do any talking. She just listens. So, of course, she would know everything.
And sometimes they, like, try to stop talking when one of the sisters come in, but it's like, y'all loud.
Yeah, y'all loud.
They hear everything y'all saying.
And like she said, we have ears and eyes, so we see you and
I heard you on the other side of the door,
Sketchy
idiot.
Men.
Right.
So, I really liked her character.
Really liked her character as well.
Lucien Masmati, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, forgive me, plays Cardinal Adeyemi, who is the Nigerian candidate with conservative social views. So.
Yeah, so he homophobic.
Yeah.
Boom, there it is.
Yeah.
And he's...
And bad to women.
And bad to women. So his whole thing was... And at first I was like, I like the diversity of the different Cardinals in this. That was in my I
enjoyed him at first.
All right. And then Bellini says, as he's going through all the bad Cardinals that ain't worth nothing, he's like, and Adeyemi is, you want to vote for him? He's a homophobic. And I was like, well,
he said homosexuals deserve to be in jail and then in hell.
Right. After they die. And I was just like, okay, well, there goes that choice. Scratch off my list. But his whole thing was he actually got a woman pregnant 30 years ago. I guess the kid was like up for adoption or something because he said the kid was raised as a Christian. So I'm assuming
raised in a Christian household.
Right. So I'm assuming because what happens is the woman that he had the child with shows up as a sister for the conclave. And there's like we don't get an argument, but she makes a scene a couple of times while they are at lunch or dinner or whatever. And everybody's kind of like, what the heck is going on?
If you've ever seen a lover's quarrel in public.
Right.
And
so
just catch it at the end of it.
Right.
You know
You're like, so what happens?
Right.
What'd she say?
Exactly.
You hear it either? Okay. So he like gets up and walks off. So of course Lawrence is now like, oh God, what's going on with this guy? So he does his Googles and his research. Comes to find out, Tremblay actually sent her there to work at the conclave.
Yeah, arranged for her arrival.
Right. Now, Tremblay says the Pope told him. And we don't really know whether that's true or not. Now, either you think the Pope was 10 steps ahead and knew that these two dudes was trash.
The Pope may have known that Adeyemi was trash.
Right. And he orchestrated for Tremblay to make sure she got sent there because he's like, the Pope told me to bring her. It didn't really matter either way.
It didn't.
Because what happens is after the argument, Lawrence, finds out. He goes to the woman and, she has a confession. He says, would you like to confess to me? So she tells everything. Now, because it's a confession, he can't tell her business.
Right.
But he goes to him and says, hey, she told me what's going on. I can't, I'm not supposed to tell everybody else, but you know how this looks, right? And he says something along the line of the last thing this church needs is another sexual scandal.
Yeah.
And Adeyemi is kind of like, you're right. And there's this whole scene where he basically, like, you can see the hope go out of his eyes.
I love that scene because
so
love the fact that he tries to rationalize the fact that he could still win, even very quickly.
Right.
After admitting that you...
And she was young. That was the other problem.
After admitting that you betrayed the church, while he was talking about I had a slip up or a mishap or something. I was like, first of all,
one time
you still haven't accepted responsibility for what you did because you said we were kids and we were young. You were 31.
And
she was 19.
Yes.
You weren't supposed to be having sex with a woman anyway.
Nope.
Then you abandoned the child
and the woman. Both.
And then you can't. And then you tried to bury it.
Nothing about it.
And then you wanted to be the Pope. With the illegitimate child out there, not saying that probably that has not already happened because I mean we know the Catholic Church.
Well, and that's why Lawrence was like the last thing this church need is another scandal.
In the beginning, like you can't start as the Pope with this
hot mess.
Yeah.
So and Lawrence is basically telling him like there's no hope.
I loved that scene.
You are done.
It was one of my favorites.
It is my spoiler alert favorite line or scene.
I
was
loved
this
when he told
scene.
him, first of all,
it's done.
The Curia is not in public. that would have caught everybody's attention anyway.
Right.
The Curia is even worse because they are super strict. He said, you know how the Curia is. You can't do one thing out of line and not immediately lose your eligibility.
Nope.
So he told him, you will never be Pope.
Never. And he just
it will never happen to you.
He literally like starts breaking down and asks Ralph Fiennes, Lawrence to pray with him because he knows it's over.
And it's so funny because it's like, are you part of the church or do you just want to be the Pope? Because he didn't kick you out of the church. You just can't be the Pope now. You can still be a cardinal. You can still be the head of your post.
Practice the faith.
He's not kicking you out.
No.
He's not even, it won't even leave this room. Nobody will still know. But he's already broken down because he won't be the Pope.
He was devastated.
Oh, I loved it. It was my favorite. I put a note that said, these cardinals are wild. One, didn't feel sorry for him at all.
I did feel sorry. I felt sorry in terms of like somebody losing a dream, but it was immediately just like, because Lauren says you were a good man. And I was like,
no. You're saying that because maybe y'all know each other and you have rapport.
But Lenny already said he was homophobic. So I was already like, no.
I checked that up too. No. Y'all know each other and y'all have rapport. So maybe that's why you're saying that.
He just found this out. So sure.
He's not a good man.
He's not a good man.
I loved the cry. It was so.
He was so devastated. Like he had lost his own flesh and blood.
Put those tears on rocks. I loved it.
And he, Lawrence about to walk off. He asked if they could pray, and I was like,
and crying like a baby. Typical. Crying like a baby after you committed a sex crime,
right?
And you got caught for it. now your
career aspirations are ruined.
A grown man crying like the child you left behind.
And in such irony. In the very next vote, I think he got like 3 or 4 votes.
Yeah, and they didn't even know what happened. All they know is that you had some type of quarrel with the sister, which why would you be doing that? You're not even supposed to be seen and heard. Yeah. So y'all shouldn't even be at the level of the beefing.
Obviously something was amiss. And
exactly.
That was enough because Lawrence was like, you know how rumors get started around here.
If you see two people, if you see a man and a woman, and when the woman walks away crying and the man walks in a different direction upset, you could assume there's a lover's quarrel taking place. And I don't know why he thought that. Yeah.
It was just like, you knew it.
I loved it. I loved the scene when he was like, oh, there's still hope. And in my mind, I was like, you are joking if you think that the rest of those men did not see that scene and thought, nothing suspicious.
I'm actually going to change my vote next time. And Lawrence tells him, he literally tells him the words, there is no hope.
And people who are wrong and people who get caught doing stuff and try to scapegoat, they immediately try to rationalize how they can fix it. I love the fact that he did that.
I was young and this and that. He was like, no, dude.
It was just the fact that after Ralph Fiennes said, I know all this crap that you done did, but I'm not going to tell anybody. And he immediately was like, oh, there's still hope. Yeah. That was your thought?
Yeah. Because he was like, oh, you about to out me. He was like, it's a confessional. I can't.
Yeah.
And he probably knew that, but he was probably like, oh, no, I'm in trouble. He about to tell all my business. And then when he said he was like, oh, cool, I'm fine.
He was like, no, there's not hope.
And he was like, actually.
Because everybody in that room has eyes and ears, you idiot.
Are done. And he was done. So he was out. So we got Bellini out of the running, Adime out of the running. They all just dropping like flies at this point.
Last character we have on our list is Carlos. I think it's Diaz.
Sure.
And it's playing Cardinal Benitez.
So Benitez is the one who I thought was a fraud at first. I did.
And I was very interested in that.
So I almost forgot about him in the movie. So he shows up after they almost about to close the doors and they about to be locked in, clank, clank, clank. This guy shows up and they're like, we've never heard of him before. Well, come to find out, the Pope actually did, I'm going to say ordain, I don't know what the Catholic term is, ordain him as a cardinal, but it's under, I can't think of the word. It's basically under.
It's in secret.
It's in secret to protect him from, I guess, for protection for some sort.
So my first thought was that they were lovers because that is one of the most common things that you constantly hear about. That's one of the most constant conspiracies that are revealed about the Catholic Church.
Okay.
I was like, oh, they're lovers. And the only reason I thought that was because he appointed him in secret.
Yep.
Immediately sent him away.
Yeah.
And then he went, they said that they did some checking on his flight records and the Pope sent him to a clinic in a different state. And I said, oh, it's lovers.
So, and it was, what was throwing everybody off was that he was from he was from Kabul in Afghanistan, but he was Mexican. Yeah. And they was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
You appointed the secret cope that you didn't tell anybody about, and you keep him moving. You keep him on the move at all times.
Right.
I was like, oh.
So Lawrence was just like, if the Pope, he thought all the paperwork checked out, and he was like, if the Pope ordained him, he belonged to be here. And Stanley Tucci was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So he actually forgot about him because he just kind of be in the background. And he's like, don't say much. He kind of chill, and then
his foreshadowing was like looming over the whole film, though.
Right, I was just like, and I was like, man, this is a scammer. This is a scammer. This is a scammer. And Lawrence tells him, he's like, are you one of the guys voting for me? And he's like, yes, I am. And Lawrence is like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
He's like, you are the most qualified to be the Pope, and I'm not changing my vote.
He's the truest to the faith out of all of our characters.
He is. He is. And we find out, like you said, he's been place to place, but he's been, like, he ain't done nothing bad that they discover.
The interesting thing about him is that he has been to the worst of places.
Yes.
Places that other seasoned cardinals who are vying for the role have never gone and never will go.
Right. So he's got
don't even address the people in those places.
Right. Good. He's got a track records checking out. Like, he's not doing anything like weird. He's voting who he wants to vote for, even though it's not like, for the people that are supposed to be in the running.
It's boots on the ground, and they're all in the offices.
Right. So he was just kind of like, he was kind of there, and I'm like, okay, is he like a scammer? Is he not a scammer? Like, I forgot about him. He popped back up. I was like, oh yeah, what about you? What you been doing? So he was still on my list to watch.
Yeah.
But he wasn't scratched off, and he wasn't like, okay, he should be voted.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the only, he had no hidden agenda. He didn't have very many scenes.
No.
He had very few speaking lines.
Mm-hmm.
Key moments of his that I liked. I loved when they thought his prayer was going to be short.
And he starts...
Which showed the fact that, yeah, he was the best because y'all slipping.
Right. So he says the first part of his prayer in English, and it's really like 15 seconds. But then he flips to Spanish, and he has a much longer prayer. And there's also a moment where he speaks where Sister Agnes actually smiles. And I was like,
he talks about, he includes the women in the prayer.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, he seems like a legitimate guy, but where he been at? Yeah. So he was still on my like suspicious list.
The rest of the popes are pretty much on that God is great, God is good, now I thank you for my food.
That was it.
He was actually breaking down the prayer, and it was so funny because all of y'all are the seasoned cardinals who have been here forever. You're the ones vying for the role as pope, and y'all skimp on the prayer.
Yeah.
And it takes the new person to remind y'all, oh, actually, we do have a lot to pray about.
It's not just us here. It's the people who prepared the food. It's the people outside.
And the greater world that, we're supposed to be serving. I thought it was so funny.
So that's why I was like, he checking out. He checking out. So maybe he's just, he's all right.
Second key moment that made me laugh out loud.
Okay. What'd he do?
After the prayer, Lawrence directs him to the Spanish-speaking table and just leaves him. I didn't understand what happened at first. It took me like 5 seconds to catch on to it because he just trails off because I thought he was going to lead him to a table to sit together.
Oh,
but what Lawrence says is, he says, this is your, and then he just waves at the Spanish table and then leaves him. I thought that was hilarious.
What's funny is Tedesco actually says at some point in the film, like, what does it matter? Like, we're all spread up by language anyway.
They're using high school cafeteria logic.
Exactly. So even when they're at lunch, they're not sitting together like as a community. They're split up by their either race, nationality, or what language they speak.
Yeah.
So, and then even Lawrence at this point, even at lunch, he'd be like, I actually want to be by myself. I don't want to be with y'all. Lawrence, through the whole movie, Lawrence is like, I don't want to be here at all, period.
And he actually gets up and says, I actually need to go commune with the rest of our
and I think he just leaves.
Because this is supposed to be a group effort.
Right, and they all separated by languages and whatnot.
I thought that was funny, because I was like, why would you just dump that man at the Spanish speaker? They were happy to have him, and he was happy to be there.
Yeah, it seemed like...
I was like, oh, this is so funny. You compartmentalize each other.
Immediately, you know this man 5 minutes.
Nobody's met him. Immediately, you just dumped him at the Spanish table because you thought he didn't want to talk to anybody else in the room.
Right, because they didn't know him. They just knew he's shown up, and they're like, oh, it must be suspicious because he's a Mexican from Cabal.
All right, let's get into our likes and dislikes.
All right, I think I might have covered most of them, but I like that the movie immediately started sowing the seeds of who done it. So we got the rude guy. We got a guy who's supposed to have been fired, allegedly. We got a guy who is in secret. So I like how the movie was structured where every person we meet, we immediately know, okay, this is what's going on with this person. This is going on with this person. Somebody else mentioned this as I was reading up what other people thought. They liked that in the movie when they did the votes, the camera panned to who the person was so you can remember who was who. That was very helpful because these are, we live in America, so everybody's name isn't like a traditional American name. So it was helpful to see when they said somebody's name, they pan to the person so you can make the connection.
Yeah. We had the same issue with Heretic, and it was only just 2 sisters, and we still got them confused because they both were addressed as sisters.
Sister Mary Clarence and Sister Hope. Yeah,
neither was Mary Clarence.
Like, which one is
we
which?
We did get them very confused,
and it was only 2 of them.
Yeah,
but the camera should have
something about sister, father, cardinal just throws us completely off.
Future movies, y'all. If there's a big cast, if there's some sort of announcement of a name, pan to the person so I can remember who.
Just this a little bit about me.
Yeah,
I watch everything at home with captions. So
I started without the captions.
Sometimes it's hard when I go to a movie theater and there's no words to read. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
I actually started without the caption, but I was like, is it supposed to be is he speaking another okay, I need to turn this on.
I had the captions on after I realized that everybody was a cardinal, and I was like, nope, this isn't gonna work.
Yes.
I'm not gonna be able to do this
because they call each other by some characters are called by their last name. There's a couple people because Lawrence actually has an assistant named Ray, but Ray is his first name.
Yeah, but then they don't address each other consistently. So like if Bellini and Lawrence are both in public, they'll call each other Cardinal or Eminence. But if they're speaking in person, it's like Aldo and Tom. So I'm like, who?
Right. Exactly. Another thing I like, and I like this about movies like this in general, is seeing behind the scenes of things I don't know about. So I knew what the Conclave was, but a lot of people said it was a pretty close like representation of how that works. So I thought that was cool. Movies like for religious and government, because them all like secret behind the doors things. I like when movies show us
church and state
behind the veil. What'd you say?
Church and state.
Exactly. Yeah. All that secret stuff going behind
all the good conspiracies are between the church and the state.
Yes. So I like when movies give us a little behind the scenes sneak peek. I already said this. I like the diversity of the cast, that they made sure there were like different type of cardinals, even in the background. The other cardinals that we don't ever talk to that are just voting. Pretty good mix of people. And I guess I would have liked more of Sister Agnes, but small role, served her purpose. I don't know where I would have put her more in, but she was a cool character enough that I was like, another scene or 2 would have been nice, but it was okay. Yep. I actually didn't. That's not even really a dislike. That's just more of a more please. So I didn't really have any dislikes.
I didn't have any dislikes. I pretty much only have likes. Another like I had, I think I mentioned earlier, is the pacing. Yes. I thought the pacing for a mysteries require good pacing.
Right, so you don't get
bored. Can't be too long because nobody wants to not know the answer to the question forever.
Right, and you need to drop enough pieces to keep me interested.
Has to actually have an answer.
Right.
Nothing was open-ended.
We all got our answer pretty much. There was nothing that was kind of like,
everybody's darkness. I mean, skeletons came out.
Exactly.
Essentially. And that's what I was interested in seeing.
Literally everybody.
Even the people that I didn't realize had skeletons.
Right.
I loved all of the twists, and none of the twists were what I thought the twists were going to be.
No.
Yeah. None of them are the usual things that you hear about in the media about the Catholic Church conspiracy. They did all new stuff.
Yes, they could have went very much like,
ripped from the headlines.
Exactly. But they actually picked stuff that was kind of like, I mean, bribery isn't a new thing, but bribery wasn't what I was expecting from Tremblay.
That's not one we hear about a lot.
Right.
About being discovered, but that probably means that just happens all the time.
Right. And there's actually one scene where they talk about, as it's obvious that everybody's falling one by one. And they were like, every pope has something. So we just got to pick whoever. And Lawrence is like, so our only option is the worst best option? Like, why is it always
literally every election?
And he was like, why do we have to do this? And they're just like, it is what it is. Keep it moving.
And that's the state of the world. That's every election. You're picking from the least rotten of the apples.
Right. And another reason why Lawrence was ready to get up out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like the pacing. I love the twist. That's pretty much all of my likes that I want to do. I have a lot of likes in my random notes.
Okay. So let's get into the ending.
Okay.
Which did not see coming. So everybody pretty much, all of our main characters, not all, but most of our main characters are like falling like a house of cards. At the very end, we got Lawrence and Tedesco. And everybody's just kind of like, it's one or the other. It's down to the wire. Y'all too, because everybody else is jank. Even though Tedesco is still jank.
Yes.
So the bomb goes off. Tedesco uses that as a launch point tote his rhetoric of whatever, and Muslims are bad and Christians are bad, whatever.
Well, yeah, he says that they are in the beginning of a holy war.
Yes.
A religious war.
And they need to like win this holy war. Benitez gets up and says, shut up and sit down. I've actually been in war. I've seen war. What you seen ain't nothing.
I love the fact that he was like, what do you know of war?
Yeah. And he's very calm about it.
Yeah.
He didn't scream or shout. He was like, this is the first time I've been here, and this probably be the last time I see any of y'all, because this is stupid.
Yeah.
Y'all are ridiculous. Let's just vote and get it over with.
And I love the fact that the way he said it, when he said this will probably be my last time. I got the impression he was saying it, either y'all aren't gonna have me back, or I'm never gonna come back because I don't want to.
It could have been
either way.
right.
I'm fine.
It could have It could have been either or. But he was like, "This is a mess. Y'all are a mess. Y'all are petty men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is stupid." So we get into the vote. We do a vote, and I like the way they shoot this, because the way that they reveal who won, at first you think it's not Tedesco because of the look on his face.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a shot of Lawrence, and I was like, oh, Lawrence won. And at first I was kind of like, that's good, because Lawrence is obviously a good choice, but Lawrence don't want this.
He doesn't, and I wanted him to lose for that fact.
Yeah,
I wanted him to lose because I wanted him to get out.
Yeah, because you can feel that Lawrence is like wants to move on, and Lawrence is like, I want to move on, but at this point of the movie, he's like, if I got to do it, then I guess I'll do it. And you don't really want somebody who's just there.
And he was only doing it to prevent a greater evil.
Exactly. So, but the camera pans to Lawrence, and I was like, oh, okay, Lawrence won. But then the camera keeps panning past Lawrence, and I'm like, well, who the heck is it?
Yeah, and then we see Lawrence asking somebody else, do you accept?
Right. And like Lawrence started clapping, and I was like, hold on, what's going on here? And Jay, like Jay says, he asked the question, and camera pans again, and it's freaking Benitez. The one who actually, from the beginning, we probably should have been like, yeah, that's the one.
He's a good candidate.
He's not a scammer. Hallelujah. He's actually legitimate. He was actually ordained, and everything he said about the Pope was true. So, we start the process of him, they doing their little final, what do you want to say? Tradition. Like, he's got to put on clothes, and
he's got
all the cleanup, and yeah, right. So they start to get into that, and then Ray, Lawrence's assistants, come by and like, yo, I should have told you this before. And he's like, Lawrence, like, what? Spit it out.
Yeah, so all throughout the movie, before you reveal, throughout the movie, Ray's been doing all of Thomas's research while he's been sequestered. Ray's been the one out and about getting all of the juice on everybody.
Right. So this is how Ray is learning about different things about these different cardinals.
And every time he comes back with something extra, he's really eager to share it, because I think he really likes that part of his job. He likes like digging up the dirt. And
I think he does.
At one point, Lawrence is like, "Stop telling me stuff. I don't want."
Right. He's like, what do you say? Something like, this is not a witch hunt.
I'm not a witch hunter.
Right. So Ray comes up, and he's sad about it. And Lawrence is like, what's going on? He's like, this is not the way I thought it would turn out. And Lawrence is like, nah, dog, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I did not want that job.
And I'm out.
And then Lawrence like, Ray is like, it's something I got to tell you. And Ray's like, well, what is it? So apparently the ticket that Benitez got from the Pope was to go to the clinic.
In Switzerland.
It was a gender clinic. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, hold on, is Benitez a woman?
Yeah.
So Lawrence actually goes to Benitez and is like, yo, dog, please, what's going on? Mm-hmm. What is it? Come to find out, Benitez is actually intersex.
Yeah. He was sent to Switzerland to have a hysterectomy.
Right. And he didn't get it.
And decided not to.
He decided not to. And when he tells Lawrence is like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah. I've paved the way for a transgender Pope.
Right. And I don't know if you would consider him transgender, or just because he was like,
I don't know.
He was like, the reason why Benitez said he didn't get the operation was because, like, this is how God made me. Like, who am I to remove God's handiwork? So he basically has female organs, but on the outside, he looks like a man. And he grew up in a church, and like he knows all the ways of the church. And, he kind of he said he had to have his appendix removed. And that's when he found out. So he just found out, I think, in like his 30s or something. So he didn't go all through life knowing. This is kind of a more recent revelation. He said he felt like he was a sin, and he was sinning because he had already been ordained and all that, and he didn't really know what to do. And he reveals that the Pope knew, And Lawrence is like, the Pope already knew about this? He was like, yeah, he knew, and we still, he still trusted me to be a cardinal and all that. And Lawrence is like relieved because he's like, well, at least we didn't elect nobody that is like, the old Pope would have deemed like not fit for this job. And Benitez actually goes back to Lawrence's opening speech at the very beginning and says, I'm the person that's in the middle. I'm the uncertainty. Because when Lawrence does his opening speech, he tells everybody, like, don't go for the obvious choice. The church sometimes needs to operate in uncertainty. Like,
he said, don't vote for somebody who's sure.
Yeah, don't for the sure shot. You need to, like, have an open mind and vote for the person who's best for the job. And sometimes that person might not be clear cut. And that's literally what Benitez was.
And I loved Lawrence's speech when he was like, even Jesus Christ on the cross in his final moments wasn't sure why he was dying or why his father was letting this happen to him. He still asked God why.
And Benitez was kind of like an embodiment of that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like it was great.
It was perfect. It was the perfect ending, and it was the perfect choice for the Pope. It was perfect. And it was the fact that it wasn't that he canvassed for the position or gave any speech or even made an impression. It was the fact that the rest of them cannonballed themselves out of the running with their own dirt. Or Tedesco, who didn't have dirt, he just talked himself out of the position.
Right. Sure did.
And it paved the way for Benitez to take it. Right. I love the fact that he did that.
At the end of the movie, it's not revealed that he's intersex. Like, Lawrence keeps it to himself. Benitez, like, I'm not getting an operation, but, I'm keeping it to myself. And he becomes Pope. His name is Innocence. So the name he picks for his Pope is, I don't know how you would say it in Pope terms, but I guess Pope Innocence or Pope Innocent.
Yeah.
Okay, because Lawrence picked John, so he would have been Pope John. So so Benitez becomes Pope Innocence, and that's the end of the movie. And I was like, I did not see that coming, but it's freaking perfect.
I didn't see Benitez being elected Pope just because he was the best and last remaining candidate would have been a twist enough that I would have enjoyed a lot.
Yeah.
The fact that Benitez was intersex,
what
was the cherry on top?
It was, because it was like
because after 2 hours of listening to these other candidates and their bigotry about who they don't want as Pope, they have no idea who's actually Pope.
Exactly, and it would be the least
it's the best for them.
Right, and it would have been the person that they absolutely would not have voted for.
Oh, yes, I loved it.
And I was just like,
I love the fact that they all catapulted themselves out of the run.
it was so good. And I like the fact that Benitez told Lawrence that, like, the Pope knew. Like, the Pope didn't, like, ordain me and then just had no idea. Because Lawrence just felt like a sense of relief of, like, the person who I'm doing all of this for already knew. And if he approves it, I approve it. Yeah. And I'm good.
Yeah, because he I think at first he felt it was his fault.
Yeah, I mean,
that Benitez was elected.
His first reaction was like,
he was upset.
Dear God, this is like the worst thing that could possibly happen. And at that point, it would have been too late because he was already voted.
It made sense. But like Benitez said, I'm literally the living embodiment of what your speech was.
Exactly.
About living in uncertainty. Right.
It's just perfect. Perfect ending. Yeah. Perfect. And now I did read that some people thought it was too outrageous. Like they were like, it was like it's a movie. It's a movie based off a book, and a book that wasn't like autobiographical. Like it's fine.
And how we know?
Exactly.
Because like they said, Bellini said, every pope's got something.
Right.
Every pope in the dawn of time has had something.
Exactly. Y'all, this particular one, you can't see, you can't dig up or anything like that. So
was this one supposed to be the sinless one that had no past or, had nothing?
Looking at the options, this was clearly the best choice.
Yeah. Benitez was perfect. It was perfect for the role.
Right. Apparently the Catholics did not like this movie at all. And some people said that they had like older people in their theater that like got up and left at this point. I was like, it's 5 minutes left, y'all.
The interesting thing about this is that this movie didn't reveal or shine any new lights on anything about the Catholic Church.
It didn't.
Like it didn't burst any bubbles.
It didn't. Yeah. And the funny thing about leaving at the reveal that Benitez was intersex is that it's literally the last 3 minutes of the movie.
And he's been elected Pope?
Literally the last 3 minutes. Yeah. So you walked out for no reason. Yeah. You're not getting your money back.
You saw the whole movie.
It's too late.
And if you streamed it, you gave them all the minutes.
Nelson already counting them. Sorry. But yeah, literally the perfect ending. I wouldn't have picked any other ending. I didn't want Lawrence to get it because he obviously didn't want it, even though he was a good person. The best person in that group is the one who got the job.
And he never voted for himself. And it's not Benitez's fault that he's the Pope.
Right.
Because Benitez never even voted for himself. He only voted for Lawrence.
He literally perfect choice.
Everybody else voted for themselves.
Listen, I don't care what organs that man got. He was the perfect choice to be the Pope. And I loved it. All right. So let's get into our miscellaneous notes. I think I had a couple.
Okay, so back to my horror references earlier.
Yeah, yes,
The opening was giving me the third act of The Exorcist when they finally call the priest to come do the exorcism.
The Pope is dead.
You just walk in. We just don't see his face. We just see like the priest walk in with the suitcase.
Yeah,
I thought that was like, I was like, this is interesting.
There is a weird scene where Lawrence does see the Pope awake in the bed, and I was like a little freaked out by that.
Yeah,
freaked me out a little bit. That was like a horror.
And that is a scene from The Exorcist.
Okay,
when he turns around, I think that's when he finds out. Is that when he finds out that his mother's dead? One of the priests from The Exorcist, mother's mother dies earlier in the film, and when he goes to see Reagan to do the exorcism or help her out, he sees a vision of his mother sitting in the bed.
Literally,
while he's standing there in a room with her.
Then that scene was from The Exorcist.
That was like a lot of these scenes I feel like are deliberately pulling from horror films about religion.
Yeah.
I did the hallway was looking like the hotel overlook
from The Shining,
and I had a random note said maybe I need to take a break from horror.
Hey, that's your style.
If everything is just reminding me of a previous horror film that I saw.
I had horror. I felt it. I couldn't name movies, but it was definitely kind of like
just the Catholic Church. Catholic Church has a lot of horror movies.
What the fact that they like close all the shades and the blinds? Yeah. It was always dark. I was like, what kind of...
Anytime somebody says sequestered, I don't like it.
Right. In a creepy old church.
Yeah. First time I heard the word conclave was in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Okay.
The video game that you played the opening chapter of.
Oh, yes.
That was the first time I found out what a conclave was.
I knew because growing up, I don't know which pope. One of the popes died. So I've actually seen this on TV, like the part where they, the smoke where it turns black means they haven't selected, means it turns white when they have. Okay. Back in the day, I don't know what point this was, a pope died and they had to re-elect a new pope, and they would like live stream the smoke. The smoke stack because they were waiting to see. And I remember at one point it turned white and everybody was like, oh my God, they selected a pope. So yes, I knew what it was because I've lived through a pope dying.
In Dragon Age Inquisition, the conclave, the opening was about they were having a conclave where they gathered all the holy people, and then when the holy people got there, they blew up the place. That was how Dragon Age opened.
It's a different movie, I could see that being a movie.
But whenever I hear the word conclave, I think of Divine Justinia being blown up.
Oh, okay.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
That's funny.
Watching this after watching both The First Omen and Immaculate was interesting.
Okay. Two other religious horror movies.
Both of those movies included... This did the same thing that those movies did. Okay. Where it was just very long scenes of the setup.
Okay.
Setting stuff up. Setting up the church, doing the dressings with the music in the background.
Scenes. Yeah, I like those.
Those movies did it too, but they were horror films. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
I feel like with religious, when you have like those practices and stuff, they always include that so we as an audience can see like the seriousness of what's going on.
It adds to the visuals.
Yes.
Like seeing like everything being set up, how neat it is when they do the robing and stuff.
I liked all that. It was very interesting to me.
Even when they set up the dining hall. I was like,
yeah, it's very, like, Sister Agnes move a plate, like, 2 inches over, please.
Why was Tedesco vaping in the cafeteria?
I thought that was funny.
That was hilarious, because did he vape at any other point of the movie?
Smoking, vaping, they was in there kicking back.
Throwing the cigarettes on the ground? Like, this is the holy temple.
Listen.
You can't do this at church.
That's why all these Cardinals, I was like, this is, y'all mess.
You're terrible.
Y'all mess. And
You're
the sisters
rotting on the inside and outside.
Gotta clean up after y'all. Yeah,
but not allowed to talk. I love that Sister Agnes came in to make the copies.
Oh, I like that scene.
That was in contention for one of my favorites.
That was so Lawrence is trying to make copies on a copier of the receipts.
Page by page, which is funny. He's never seen a copier because page by page still.
Right, because he's about to get copies to everybody to out Tripoli, and he tried to mess with the copier. Sister Agnes like, what is you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to need some help. She's like, how many copies? He's like, 108.
I love the fact that when she knew, because they established that she was very close to the Pope as well.
Yeah.
We don't really get how much she knew it. She could have known just as much as Thomas did, but she didn't get to speak. But she also visited his door. She didn't break the seal.
Right.
She was very close to him.
Right.
So I think that she knew about the conspiracies.
Because she looks at the paper real quick to kind of, see what he's copying. She like, surprise, copy.
The reason she was eager to make those copies, I think, is because she already knew about the documents.
Okay.
Because she was close to the Pope. She knew he was in that room.
Oh, yeah. She might have known what that last conversation was like.
No, when Lawrence broke the seal.
Oh, I see.
And when she came to the door and he was like fake being quiet so nobody would know, I think she knew he was in that room.
Probably.
And she was like, he's in that room. He's going to find them documents. So when she saw him at the copy, she said, oh, perfect.
Right.
Would you like assistance?
How many copies? He was like 108. I was
like,
108, my goodness.
I love the fact that she was eager to make the copies.
And they put the copies in folders, individual folders for every card. Now I was like, oh, y'all serious?
Because it was more show don't tell. Because I was like, oh, she knew.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, I could believe that.
And
I could believe that.
She was waiting for somebody to put everybody on Front Street.
She was right in the background, just waiting for something good to happen for once. And she was like, I will help you in any way that I can.
And those are all of my random notes.
My other notes was just things that I exclaimed while I was watching this.
Okay.
When the first time they did the votes and when they set it up that like, oh, Bellini is our front runner and they have this little powwow and like, I think on the first vote, he's going to get like 20 to 26. Now you need 71, but he's going to get like 20 to 26. I was like, okay, so he at least going to start off real good and they vote. Ademi got like 31 votes at the first one. And I was like, wait a second. Bellini ain't nowhere close to winning.
Well, it was I paid attention to the numbers and Bellini stayed in the same place for the first two rounds. He
and then went down.
And then went down. He didn't gain at all, but was upset with Lawrence.
I thought that was so funny that when they did that first vote and 31 votes went to somebody else. Yeah. I was like, oh, Bellini's not. That's why earlier I was like, Stanley Tucci's character didn't go the way I thought because I thought that like he was going to be the one rising in the ranks. He was done maybe 30 minutes in.
Oh, yeah. He was.
Or maybe 2 rounds of voting in. I was like, oh, no, Bellini's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And then my other note was they only vote once a day. So I had to look this up because I was like, there's no way they only vote once a day. So apparently day 1 of voting, they vote once. But every other day after that, they can vote up to 2 to 4 times.
Yeah, one of them, they said they did voting immediately after the next vote. And the numbers were different.
Yes. Because, which is...
How does that happen?
Well, the fact that they just vote, it's like, y'all could be here literally forever.
So at some point, people probably switching. Like, let me just pull towards the majority so we can get up out of here.
That's what they bang on, right? They bang. That's what Tedesco was waiting for. People to get so tired and so burnt out to just get a man the rest of our vote so we can go.
And I also thought it was weird that they voted for. I'm fine with Benitez getting the position. I'm completely fine with that. I thought it was weird that he won them all over with one vote because I'm like, y'all are all so y'all so flimsy.
Somebody else pointed they didn't like the fact that it only took one vote. It's like, y'all, we ain't trying to be here all day.
I mean, right, but I did think that was weird because I was like, y'all are so flimsy.
I feel like a couple rounds probably.
Y'all just didn't want to be here anymore. That's why Benitez won.
In that shuttered church with no lights and bombs going off outside, I wouldn't want to be there either.
3-minute monologue in all the days he's been here, and y'all already had suspicion that he was even legitimate. Now you want him to be the Pope?
Right. So some people thought that was a little too unbelievable. I'm like, okay.
It's a movie.
Sure, but it's also a movie.
But it adds to the fact that all of them are flimsy. Every single one of them.
Well, the fact that they immediately voted in the votes was different. It was just
yeah.
Right. Or the fact that they went after the lunchroom quarrel. Yeah. They were like, oh, no, we got to get this man out of here.
Are you done with your random notes?
That is all my random notes.
It's time to get into our rating.
I'm gonna give it 5.
Yeah,
it's 5 Nicole Kidmans for me.
Not even a question.
I wish I would have liked to see this in theaters. I don't think we even got it, or maybe it came out in a time where we were watching other things. But it was a 5 out of 5.
I'm gonna be honest. When Lawrence went to question John Lithgow the first time, I said, "Oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good."
I just like the fact that we started introducing people, and it was immediately like, check, no, good, bad. Dang it.
Yeah.
What's going on? Oh my God. Who did it? Who's going to win? It was a good mystery, but not a like murder mystery, but I still enjoyed the mystery part.
There were multiple mysteries. There wasn't even one big overarching, and I was waiting for the one big overarching mystery or conspiracy, and I guess that was Benitez. But
the last 3 minutes.
His foreshadowing loomed over the movie because I was like, whatever he's here for is going to come up at some point. It's the Chekhov's gun.
I forgot about that, man. That's how good they like edited, because I was like, oh, okay, he must be okay. We not coming back. Because at some point, Ray was like, he got a ticket, the Pope bought him a ticket to Switzerland, but he never go. He canceled it. I was like, oh, well, I guess nothing came out of that.
I knew something was going to come up out of the fact that he just showed up. Yeah. Nobody knew who he was, and the only person who had record of him is dead.
Right.
I was waiting, but they didn't. It wasn't heavy. Like
They didn't.
Just
chilling in the background.
All of the other conspiracies with the other Cardinals kept the pacing, kept the movie going.
Yes.
And I like the fact that we solved a mystery in
one
between each round of voting.
Yeah.
So you feel satisfied as you're watching the movie because you feel like you're actually making progress.
Right. We didn't wait till the very end and had like 5 candidates.
Yeah.
It was literally only 2, and the one that won wasn't one of the 2.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he was intersex was just an extra topping on the fact that he won in the first place.
Yeah, because him just winning, just winning because he was just the best person out of the bunch would have been perfect. But the fact that he was intersex adds so much flavor to all of what we had to endure.
Exactly. And it basically matched exactly what Lauren's speech was in the very beginning.
And he's the antithesis of what they all wanted the next pope to be, and they will never know.
Right. He'll just go be a great pope,
and they don't get to know, and I love that.
Right. Now, somebody said that in the opening credits, or in the opening credits, they actually used the headlines or something to spell out innocence. So they like foreshadowed it, but you wouldn't have known that until like after that. So actually, I think I'm gonna actually go rewatch this to pick up on some things I might not have picked up on in the first.
And that wouldn't have given anything away.
It wouldn't.
Innocent didn't come into the end. So
literally until he said it. Yeah. Right before he was pope.
I didn't like the name. I thought that was weird. I wanted the name after finding out who Benitez was. I wanted the name to have more oomph.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
Innocent's fine.
I feel like Pope names be really regular. Anyway.
He was like John. I was like,
John. What about Samuel?
Your real name is Ralph Fiennes.
He's got a little flavor,
spice. Right.
I don't think they allowed that spice in names as popes.
Pope Fiennes. That would have been fine. That would have been perfect.
That would have been perfect. But
so it's giving 5 Nicole Kidmans for me.
It's giving 5. This might be a DVD purchase.
Oh yeah, I saw the physical before I watched it.
Right.
On streaming. Now I need to go get the physical.
I might, because stuff on streaming, they be yanking it off at any moment. So I feel like this is something I want to have for later.
It is. Yep.
For sure. All right, so that wraps up our review for Conclave. Check it out. It's on Peacock, or as Jay said, you can buy the physical. You probably want to watch it first for your bad, but you can find it on streaming.
Yeah, but just in case you're at the store and you see it, you should just pick it up.
I'm just going to, right.
You should just pick it up.
Just pick it up.
I mean, what is a Blu-ray? $20?
Probably like 30.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So
we guarantee it's worth the money.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we watching next week?
So we are definitely watching one movie next week.
I thought we was double featuring.
Oh, so are we double featuring? Okay, so next week we're double featuring it.
Don't hold us to it. We're going to do our best.
We are going to see One of Them Days, starring Keke Palmer and SZA for our comedy section.
Yeah.
And then we're getting an extra scoop of horror because we will also be seeing Wolfman.
Yeah, so we're going to do a double feature, y'all. Buckle in, strap up. You're going to get your popcorn ready. We're going to tell you how good these movies are. I feel like they're both going to be good.
I think we have to see all the monster movies now that they're bringing them all back.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that, Mummy, but we'll see.
We have to see a trailer.
To be
but
determined.
I mean, Nosferatu is back. Wolfman is back. The Mummy is back.
We got
Invisible Man is supposed to be coming back. Frankenstein. I don't even know if Frankenstein's supposed to be horror. It sounds like it's supposed to be like dark romance or something.
Yeah,
the way they're going for this one. Okay. But Robert Eggers is doing it. So, I mean, that was just Nosferatu, which wasn't like super horror.
Okay,
Robert Eggers is supposed to be doing it with another actor. It was going to be Bill Skarsgård.
Oh.
But they changed.
Bill was like,
Bill was not available.
I need a makeup break.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But Bill Skarsgård would have been a perfect Frankenstein. But
yeah,
I don't think you can. I don't think it's fair for you to be
Nosferatu
Frankenstein.
Somebody like, you hogging all the monster roles. Give something next.
Excited for Wolfman. This will be our second time seeing, what's his name? Because we just saw him in Craven. We did not like his performance.
I liked his outfit though. He had some cool glasses on.
This will be our weird. Second time seeing Christopher Abbott.
There it is.
Yep.
So this will be his. This will be what I judge him on.
This will be my first time seeing Julia Garner in anything. Same. I did not watch Ozark or her Rosemary's Baby thing.
Right. But Apartment 72 or whatever.
This will be my first time seeing her in anything.
Agree.
So we know what to expect with Silver Surfer.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to both of these. So strap in, buckle up for a double feature episode.
Thanks for listening. That is our episode. If you like our show, please share it. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcast or on your favorite podcast app or our website at vaguelynerdypodcast.com, where you can also leave us a voice message and we will play it on the show if it's nice.
Yep.
You can follow us on Threads and Instagram at Vaguely Nerdy Podcast, Blue Sky and Twitter at Vaguely Nerdy Pod. And you can also reach us via email at vaguelynerdypodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening to us on a podcast app, you can also view our animated episodes on YouTube.
I got on a blue winter hat because it's like super snowy here in Columbus, Ohio.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Okay.
But it is. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.